Chapter 1506. Chapter 1504. You're as bad as they're both. Chi-Chi nodded, a little troubled that Lin Yi had hit the nail on the head. Both? You were the one who found the snow herb? Lin Yi blinked. It was me, but Zhang Naipeo and those bastards took it away. Chi-Chi said angrily. If I hadn't gotten hurt fighting the snake, they wouldn't have gotten it. Come on, if it weren't for your injuries, you'd probably die a worse death fighting Zhang Naipeo. Lin Yi teased. Chi-Chi humphed but didn't deny it. Naipeo was strong and she knew that she wasn't his match. I didn't want to get involved in this at first, but since it was Zhang Naipeo who took it, I don't mind getting it back. Lin Yi heard that it was Naipeo who took the herb and he started thinking about stealing it. Really? Chi-Chi's eyes lit up. Really? But I won't give it back to you, whoever gets it first. Lin Yi naturally wasn't planning on giving it back to Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi couldn't hold back her tears anymore after hearing Lin Yi's overbearing words. She'd been wronged enough already and Lin Yi had finally given her some hope, letting her see the light at the end of the tunnel. But in the blink of an eye, Lin Yi had become a robber. He didn't give the herb back to her, instead taking it for himself. This made Yang Chi-Chi even sadder. Thinking about Lil Nine's sickness, Yang Chi-Chi felt even worse. She was so close to getting the right to exchange, but it was gone just like that. You're as bad as them. Chi-Chi glared at Lin Yi, tears falling down her cheeks as if Lin Yi had stolen something from her. I wanted the exchange right to cure my good sister, but now? Well, Chi-Chi didn't even cry when she was hurt, but now she was crying. Although Lin Yi was a cold person, he was a bit soft-hearted. He couldn't ignore the people he knew. He thought about how this cool girl didn't cry even when she was heavily injured, but now she was crying because a heavenly treasure was stolen. In that case, the exchange right was really important to her. But don't cry. I'll snatch it back later and return it to you. But we want the other things. Lin Yi said helplessly, you're a physical cultivator, right? I'll need your help later. If you want the snow Lingzi, you have to put in some effort. Really? Chi-Chi was overjoyed at Lin Yi's words. She nodded quickly. Yes, I'll do my best. Definitely. Ha. Lin Yi smiled. All right, let's heal your wounds first and then we'll go find Zhang Naipeo for revenge. Lin Yi wasn't in a rush to go after Naipeo. He had the Skybolt pig and he'd be able to find out where the snow Lingji was. As long as the snow Lingji was on Naipeo, he'd be able to find him. Even without Chi-Chi, Lin Yi would have gone after Naipeo. He'd suffered a loss before, and although he'd managed to break through, Lin Yi wasn't the type to let things slide. It wouldn't be in Lin Yi's character to let things slide. Heal. Yow. Chi-Chi paused. I've already used the medicine you gave me. Yu Bing stood on the side, finding it funny. These two were like happy enemies. Lin Yi said he wasn't going to help, but he still did and even gave the snow Lingji back to this cool girl. But Yu Bing didn't complain. After all, Lin Yi was the one who took the snow Lingji back. Lin Yi was free to give it back to Chi-Chi if he wanted to. The medicine won't heal anytime soon. If you want to stand up and fight now, then stop talking. Lin Yi said. Do I still need to take off my clothes? Chi-Chi remembered that her shoulder and leg were injured as well. Was Lin Yi going to take off her clothes again? No need. Lin Yi didn't say much and squatted down next to Chi-Chi. Because of Xiao Xiao behind him, Lin Yi couldn't sit down. After that, Lin Yi grabbed Chi-Chi's hand and locked her meridians. He threw away the bandages and medicine and quickly channeled the art of dragon mastery into the jade space. Chi-Chi was startled. She didn't want to be held by a man like Lin Yi, but seeing that Lin Yi was only checking her meridians and didn't do anything else, she let him. But in the next moment, Chi-Chi felt a warm flow from Lin Yi's hand into her meridians. Her wound started to feel warm, making Chi-Chi very comfortable. She couldn't help but let out a moan. But after the moan, Chi-Chi blushed a little. That moan really did sound like some kind of sound, and in front of Lin Yi she felt very embarrassed. A playful smile appeared on Yu Bing's lips, but when he saw the serious look on Lin Yi's face, Yu Bing realized that he was wrong. Lin Yi didn't seem to be doing anything dirty at all. Chi-Chi also saw that Lin Yi didn't seem to care about her at all, and she let out a breath of relief. Huh. Chi-Chi suddenly realized that the wounds on her shoulder and arm were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Chi-Chi was shocked. How was this possible? The scene in front of her was beyond her imagination. She had never seen a wound that could heal like this. Chi-Chi's question attracted Yu Bing's attention as well. Originally, Yu Bing didn't want to see Lin Yi heal Chi-Chi because he was afraid of seeing something he shouldn't see. But now that he turned around subconsciously, he saw the miraculous scene on Chi-Chi's wound. He couldn't help but exclaim, "This? How is this possible? Even House Sun doesn't have this kind of ability, does he?" When Yu Bing's swollen face was healed by Lin Yi, he was already surprised enough, but he wasn't as surprised as he was right now. Treating swollen wounds was different from treating wounds. Swollen wounds could be treated with pure qi, but there was a lot of flesh on the wounds. How could they be healed so quickly? Very quickly, the wounds on Chi-Chi's shoulder and arm were completely healed, and there was white skin growing on her arm. "It's done?" Chi-Chi couldn't believe her eyes. "You healed my arm just like that." "Don't talk, there's still your leg," Lin Yi said faintly. Chapter 1507. Did you do it on purpose? It didn't take long for Chi-Chi's leg injury to heal as well. "It's done." Lin Yi stood up. It's done? It's really done?" Chi-Chi looked at her leg and arm in disbelief. "Lin Yi, I really don't know what to say. You can even heal an injury like this so quickly." Yu Bing looked at Chi-Chi's flawless arm in shock. "Don't look at indecent things. If you want to be chased by her, then keep looking," Lin Yi reminded Yu Bing. Yu Bing jumped in fright and quickly turned his head around. In actuality, Chi-Chi's injuries were only on her arm and calf. As for her shoulder, Lin Yi didn't purposely take away the medicine that she used to bandage it. It didn't really matter. So even if Yu Bing saw her arm and calf, it didn't matter. "Right. You could heal me like this, why did you take off my clothes last time? Were you trying to be a pervert?" Chi-Chi suddenly remembered that Lin Yi took off her clothes when he healed her last time. He didn't even need to take off her clothes to heal her, so he must have done it on purpose? Looking at the angry Chi-Chi, Lin Yi didn't know what to say. He was healing her and now she was in trouble? "I didn't know how to heal like this last time," Lin Yi said faintly, "and this method uses a lot of qi. You're a typical ungrateful person, aren't you? I healed you and you're questioning me instead of thanking me?" Chi-Chi was embarrassed, but she understood what Lin Yi was saying. She was a physical practitioner, but she knew the importance of qi. And so Chi-Chi said unwillingly, "This time. Thanks, but I can't just let it go like this when you saw me naked last time." "Do whatever you want." Lin Yi didn't want to talk to her anymore. It wasn't the first or second time Chi-Chi said something like this. Yu Bing was laughing on the side, thinking that the conversation between these two was quite amusing. "Right? Who's that on your back?" Chi-Chi had been curious about why Lin Yi was carrying someone on his back to participate in the test. "My girlfriend is sick. She needs a type of elixir to cure her illness." Lin Yi didn't hide anything. "My goal is similar to yours. We are both looking for elixirs to treat other people's illnesses." "Oh." Chi-Chi looked at Xiao Xiao behind Lin Yi and nodded. This guy was quite good to his girlfriend. He actually carried her behind his back to participate in the trial. Didn't he find it troublesome? "Let's not talk about that, let's talk about Zhang Naipeo," Lin Yi said. "I've thought of a few countermeasures, one of which is to use a physical practitioner against him. His practitioner's arts can absorb spiritual practitioner's strength for his own use, so it's almost impossible for spiritual practitioners to fight him head-on, but it's different for physical practitioners. Physical practitioners don't have qi in their bodies and he can't absorb it. When the time comes, we can use physical practitioners to attack him, and maybe we'll get an unexpected result." "You're saying you want me to attack Zhang Naipeo?" Chi-Chi asked. "Yes, I'll attract his attention and you attack him from behind." Lin Yi nodded. "Alright." Chi-Chi didn't say much. She hated Zhang Naipeo to the bone, so there was no way she would let go of a chance to deal with him herself. "Then what do I need to do?" Yu Bing asked. "You just need to keep the Zhuang brothers occupied. Don't let them cause trouble in the middle," Lin Yi said. "Right, no problem." Yu Bing didn't dare fight Zhang Naipeo, but he had some confidence in dealing with Nia Peo and Niao Qiang. "Little guy, let's go, bring us to the snow Ganoderma," Lin Yi said to Skybolt Pig after arranging everything. Oink oink. Skybolt Pig nodded and started running. He didn't want to give up anymore after all. The snow Ganoderma he'd been looking for was taken away by someone else. How could he just give up like that? Zhang Naipeo, Zhuang Nia Peo, and Zhuang Niaoqiang were walking and stopping other than collecting some treasures themselves. They were waiting for other teams to come and steal from them. At this moment, Zhang Naipeo had just stolen another team's treasures, and was splitting the spoils with the Zhuang brothers. Getting something for nothing, doesn't it feel good? After walking for a while, Lin Yi saw Zhang Naipeo and the other two. They had just stolen something from another team, and so Lin Yi couldn't help but mock them. Who did I think it was? Isn't this the school's boss, Lin? What's wrong? You have too much strength and you want to give me some? Zhang Naipeo turned around and saw Lin Yi. He paused and started laughing. He didn't know why Lin Yi was here, but as far as he was concerned, Lin Yi was going to give him strength again. No matter what tricks Lin Yi had up his sleeves, it was useless. The wasp absorption arts was omnipotent. Stealing from others feels good, doesn't it? But the feeling of being robbed isn't bad either. Lin Yi walked towards Naipeo and said calmly, "You mean you want to have a taste of being robbed?" Naipeo understood what Lin Yi was saying, but as far as he was concerned, Lin Yi was just bluffing. He pretended like he didn't understand and asked back, "Then come, I'll let you have a taste of being robbed." "Do it." With that, Lin Yi moved first, sending a palm towards Naipeo. Naipeo laughed as he looked at Lin Yi as if he was looking at an idiot. He reached out his hand towards Lin Yi. "Some people just don't have a good memory. After getting sucked once, you still want to come to me. I really don't understand, is there really such an idiot in this world?" Yu Bing and Chi-Chi moved at the same time Lin Yi spoke. Chi-Chi was an expert in assassination, and her qinggong had recovered as well. In an instant she moved behind Naipeo. Naipeo was surprised. He had channeled the chrysanthemum wasp absorption arts, but he didn't get any qi from Lin Yi's hand. In the next moment he understood that Lin Yi did not use the incantation, and the palm that he struck out did not carry a shred of pure qi. Chapter 1508. I'm tricking you. You idiot, this is your fourth plan, isn't it? You want to use this to attack me? But I'm sorry, my wasp absorption arts is just a passive art from the chrysanthemum arts. A passive skill. Now have you realized that you can't stop anymore? What? It's a passive skill. Lin Yi's face changed. You just realized. It's too late, just wait for you to become a cripple again. Naipeo's eyes were filled with disdain towards Lin Yi. Master Pao's divine arts protect you, Master Pao is mighty. Zhuang Niapeo and Zhuang Niaoqiang saw that Lin Yi had become Naipeo's sacrificial pawn once again, and they started cheering. Yu Bing and Chi-Chi on the other hand had a look of deep worry in their eyes. But in a situation like this they couldn't do anything. Naipeo was practically invincible, how could they do anything? And so they could only put their hopes on Lin Yi, hoping for a miracle. Oh. Lin Yi nodded faintly. Actually, I forgot to tell you that the first 4 plans were just for you to play with. The 5th plan is the one I'm really planning to use. The 5th plan? You think you can still use the 5th plan? Do you still have the ability to use the 5th plan? Naipeo paused and said with disdain, "You're about to have your qi sucked dry. How are you going to use the 5th plan?" "I'm using it right now." Lin Yi said with a straight face. "I'm using it." Naipeo's face changed all of a sudden. "Wah? Suck it? Why don't you keep sucking? Why did you stop?" Lin easily pulled his hand back from Naipeo's palm. Naipeo had stopped sucking Lin Yi's qi. "What did you do to the qi?" All of a sudden Naipeo's face turned red, and his body started to inflate like a balloon. In the next moment, before he could even finish his sentence, his entire body let out a deafening, earth-shattering sound. Boom. Naipeo exploded. Of course, this explosion didn't come from Naipeo's entire body, but from his inside there was a huge explosion inside his body. Naipeo spat out a mouthful of blood, his face pale as he fell to the ground, unable to move. "Didn't you enjoy sucking it? Continue. I still have a lot of true qi. Do you want it or not?" Lin Yi said coldly as he looked at Naipeo. This sudden turn of events caused everyone present to be dumbfounded. Just now, when Lin Yi and Naipeo were fighting, they had attracted the attention of the other teams, but they didn't know what was going on. From what they saw, Naipeo, who had the upper hand, suddenly exploded and fell to the ground, spitting out blood. Could it be that he'd absorbed too much energy and exploded? My meridians. All broken. Naipeo couldn't believe it, but the truth was right in front of him. He didn't know what Lin Yi did, but the qi he absorbed from Lin Yi seemed to have expanded countless times over. It was just a small ball of qi, but it made his meridians explode. His wasp absorption arts didn't even have time to convert it before tragedy struck. But this was the qi of an earth-class early phase. Lin Yi was just a mystic late phase. How could he do this? "Oh, you're the main character. You can fix it even if it's broken." Lin Yi said casually. You came out with a halo and a golden finger, it'll be fine. Just you wait. The day after day sect won't let you get away with this. My master won't let you get away with this. Nai Peo said furiously. Oh, when did you guys decide to let me go? If it weren't for you, it'd be me, wouldn't it? Lin Yi shrugged as he asked in return. Nai Peo had no hope left. He needed to get back to the sect as soon as he could. His meridians were all broken and he needed to think of a way. The 4 plans Lin Yi had used before were just to stall for time, and talking to Nai Peo for so long was just to stall for time. After all, Lin Yi had been compressing the chi bomb in his body. It wasn't until Lin Yi was done that Lin Yi activated the art of dragon mastery, letting Nai Peo absorb his chi. And so, it didn't take long for Nai Peo to absorb Lin Yi's chi bomb. Of course, Lin Yi's chi bomb had been carefully compressed as well. If he'd used his full strength, Nai Peo would have been blown to smithereens. But Lin Yi wouldn't have been able to avoid getting hurt as well. But the rules of the Ice Palace were very clear, no one was allowed to die, and so Lin Yi could only injure or cripple Nai Peo, not kill him. Of course, Lin Yi wouldn't explain these things to Nai Peo. It didn't matter if he understood or not. Lin Yi was planning on using the same method to deal with the other people in Nai Peo's sect. It'd be a waste of time if he let them find a way to deal with it. With that, Nai Peo stumbled up from the ground, not even bothering to pick up his backpack as he ran down the mountain. He was heavily injured, but his endurance was incredible and no one tried to stop him. After all, Nai Peo might be crippled, but going against him now was the same as going against the everyday sect. Lin Yi had injured Nai Peo. What was going on? The spectators all looked at Lin Yi with awe and respect in their eyes. At this moment they all hurriedly slipped away, planning to hide as far away as possible. Who knew if Lin Yi would come for their treasures as well? If Lin Yi were to really do it, they wouldn't dare fight back. Nai Peo wasn't strong enough, so what right did they have to go against Lin Yi? Which one is Nai Peo's? The snow Ganoderma? Lin Yi turned to Nia Peo and Niaoqiang as he asked faintly. Ling bro no. Master Ling, Master Pao. Pao's stuff is here, please accept it. Nia Peo saw that Lin Yi was looking at him, and quickly handed over Nai Peo's backpack to Lin Yi. Afraid that he'd die if Lin Yi wasn't happy. You guys hand it in as well, I don't need to do anything, right? Lin Yi asked as he took the backpack. Chapter 1509. Chapter 1508. Feng Nitin's pride. No need, of course not. This is supposed to be for you, Master Ling. Nia Peo's face changed quickly, but he had no choice. If he didn't change his face now, wouldn't he be looking for death? He had already offended Lin Yi in order to kiss Nai Peo's ass. And now was the time to change? Lin Yi took the things Zhuang Nia Peo gave him and nodded. Alright, you two can leave now. My hands are itching to see you two, I want to beat you up. Wah. Nia Peo paused and quickly said, we'll disappear now, absolutely fast, faster than the speed of light. With that, Nia Peo took Niaoqiang and ran away. Nai Peo was now a cripple, and while they didn't know what Lin Yi did, they were sure that if Lin Yi did the same to them, they wouldn't have it easy. They sure run fast, faster than a rabbit. Yang Qiqi looked at the 2 Zhuang brothers running away like monkeys when the tree fell, feeling a little unhappy. Where was the arrogance they had when they tried to rob her? Now that they saw Lin Yi hurt Nai Peo, they called Lin Yi grandpa. What the hell was that? Alright, take your snow, Lingzi. Don't lose it again. Lin Yi said as he handed the herb back to Qiqi. Qiqi took the herb, a look of gratitude on her face. Thank you. Thank you. Lin Yi nodded. No need to thank me, you did help too. Lin Yi waved his hand. But I didn't help much. Qiqi was a little embarrassed. Her attack didn't do anything to Nai Peo and she saw it with her own eyes. I asked you to help me stall for time, all those plans before were just to stall for time, I never thought they would work. Lin Yi said, but if you feel bad about it you can give it back to me. No. Qiqi quickly put the herb away. You've already promised me. Ha. Lin Yi smiled, we'll meet again. You've more or less got enough points, and even with Zhang Nai Peo and the Zhuang brothers, we only have 500 points each. We need to get some more to pass. Can I go with you guys? Qiqi was really starting to get scared now. What if they got robbed again? She did not want to lose the snow Lingji that she had finally regained after losing it with great difficulty. Lin Yi was slightly taken aback. Don't worry, I won't cause you any trouble and I won't ask for your treasures. I just feel safer this way, Qiqi said quickly. Then let's go. Lin Yi had no reason to refuse, so he nodded. The news of Zhang Naipeo's defeat spread like wild. Many didn't see it with their own eyes, but they heard the news from the mouths of others. It was Lin Yi who crippled Zhang Naipeo. Such shocking news caught these people off guard. Zhang Naipeo was from an ancient sect, a master with ultimate skills. How did he lose? Wasn't this Lin Yi a little too strong? And so, these people changed from guarding against robbers, thieves and Naipeo to guarding against robbers, thieves and Lin Yi. Of course, this was just a joke. The person they were guarding against now was Feng Nitian. After all, Feng Nitian was doing the same thing as Zhang Naipeo. He brought Yushan with him to rob other people's treasures. Nitian bro, I heard that Lin Yi crippled Zhang Naipeo? What's going on? Why is he so strong? Yushan naturally heard the news as well. After all, Lin Yi and Yu Bing were on the same side. If Lin Yi was really that strong, then how was he supposed to deal with Yu Bing? Who knows? But don't worry about him. Even if he's strong, it doesn't matter. In front of me, he's nothing. Feng Nitian said. I can control anyone under Earth class. It doesn't matter if he's a spiritual practitioner or physical practitioner, he won't be able to escape from my domain. As long as he's in my domain, he won't be able to move. If he can't move, how can he attack? He can only get beaten up. Ah, that's right, that means that Nitian bro is much stronger than Zhang Naipeo. Yushan calmed down after hearing that. At that time, Nitian would use his godly arts and freeze Lin Yi in place. What would Lin Yi do then? No matter how strong he was, he'd just die. You can't say that, we all have our strengths. Although he said that, Feng Nitian was still very prideful, because Yushan was right, someone Zhang Naipeo couldn't handle. Feng Nitian had absolute confidence. But that Zhang Naipeo really isn't as strong as Nitian bro. He'll only get beaten up if he meets you, Nitian bro. If we lock him in place, he won't be able to touch us and we'll be able to do whatever we want. Yushan said respectfully. Feng Nitian smiled faintly, not saying anything. He'd heard that Naipeo's wasp absorption arts was a passive skill. It didn't matter if he was locked in place or not. But even so, Nitian did think that he was stronger than Naipeo. If they were to fight, even if he couldn't do anything to Naipeo, he could still shoot him with a firearm after he froze him. Wouldn't he still be able to kill him? He didn't believe that Naipeo could turn bullets into chi. At the highest point of the mountain stood two girls, one in green and one in white. It was Qing and the sect master of the Ice Palace. From where they stood, they could see the entire view of the Ice Snow Spirit Mountain. The vision and perception of a heaven-rank expert was not something an ordinary cultivator could compare to. Without the help of any electronic equipment, they could clearly see everything that was happening on the Ice Snow Spirit Mountain. That Lin Yi, interesting. The sect master commented faintly after seeing Lin Yi beat Naipeo. Yeah, I don't know what move he used to cripple Naipeo, Qing said, confused. Qing was a bit confused. But if an ancient sect's disciple is injured, won't they take it out on us? Would they dare? The sect master said calmly, for them we changed the rules of the trial, not letting the participants kill each other. That's already giving them enough face. Now that he's alive, we've done our part. He dares to take his anger out on us? Even if the everyday sect's elder were here, they'd only be on the same level as me. That's true. Qing nodded. We, the Ice Palace, have never been afraid of anyone. Chapter 15:10. Oh, doesn't that use up a lot of chi? Qing said with some surprise after hearing the sect master's words. In theory, it does use up a lot of chi. It's the same as using up your own strength to fight the enemy. The sect master paused, a little suspicious. But this person is a little special. Aunt Qing, didn't we say this before? All of his chi had been sucked out by Naipeo and he was a complete cripple. But in one night, not only did he recover his strength, he even broke through. It seems like there are a lot of special people amongst the freelancers. Aunt Qing sighed. Too bad he's a man, there's no way he'll be able to become a core member of the Ice Palace. The Ice Palace didn't accept men, and this was an unwritten rule that wasn't made public, but all the core members of the Ice Palace knew about it. The Ice Palace's inner sect was all women. If a man were to enter, there was only one possibility, and that was that the heir of the Ice Palace had appeared. In order to continue the Ice Palace's legacy, the heir needed to find a husband to continue the lineage. But in all these years, no heir had ever appeared, so there were no men in the inner sect. As for those male trial takers who fantasized about becoming an outer sect disciple of the Ice Palace, they would all be disappointed in the future. No matter how outstanding they were, they wouldn't be able to enter the core of the Ice Palace. Just like the inn owner, Lee, he didn't just have a magical ability, he wasn't weak either. But after all these years he was still a normal disciple guarding the door, never entering the inner sect. Our Ice Palace doesn't need outsiders. The Ice Palace mistress shook her head. Evidently Lin Yi wasn't good enough for her. He was just curious, that was all. That's true. However, Palace Master, what do you think is going on with the lady that Lin Yi is carrying? Qing and the sect master were master and servant in name, but after the sect master's Shifu left, she was the one taking care of the sect master until she grew up. She was more like an auntie. So the two of them weren't too distant from each other. In front of the sect master, Qing wasn't too restrained, and the sect master even called her Aunt Qing. Because she had been calling him that since she was young. Even after she grew up and officially became the palace master, she still called him that. Because of the sect master's strength, even the Grand Elder had to treat her with respect. In the ancient sects, strength was everything, and the sect master's strength was there for all to see. No one could say anything about what she did and no one dared. I'm not sure, but it looks like he's dying. I haven't checked yet. The sect master said. Perhaps he's participating in the trial to get the right to trade for treasures to cure the friend he's carrying. Perhaps that's the case. Qing nodded. As the sect master and Qing talked about Lin Yi suddenly felt like he was being watched. It wasn't because Lin Yi sensed anything, but it was a natural sixth sense. Lin Yi closed his eyes and entered the jade space, using the jade space's senses to see who was watching him. The jade space didn't warn him, so that meant the person watching him didn't have any intentions of ambushing him. But to Lin Yi's disappointment, Lin Yi could only guess that the person watching him came from above the mountain, but he couldn't see who it was. Lin Yi raised his head subconsciously, looking at the peak of the mountain. That was where the Ice Palace was. Could it be that the Ice Palace's people were watching the participants' every move? That had to be it. With that thought in mind, Lin Yi didn't care anymore. After all, it was normal for the Ice Palace to be watching him. Qing paused when she saw Lin Yi look up. Did he notice us watching him? That shouldn't be possible. We are heaven class, and when we don't use our arts, low-leveled practitioners won't be able to sense our presence, unless this person's sixth sense is naturally strong, or they've gone through some sort of professional training. The sect master shook her head. Perhaps the perception of loose cultivators is very strong. For them to be able to survive, they are naturally a bit more powerful than those who came from aristocratic families, said little Qing. But that Yang Qiqi is just SOSO. I wonder how a solo practitioner like her managed to survive until now? The sect master said with disdain. Because Qiqi was a girl, the sect master paid special attention to her, but the results were disappointing. Yeah, it seems like we need to make a rule for the next test that the participants must be female. Otherwise, almost all the participants from the noble houses will be male. Qing nodded. Enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. Enemies or people they didn't want to meet just had to meet. This was the situation Lin Yi and Yu Bing were in right now. They followed Skybolt Pig to search for the next treasure, but along the way they saw Nidian and Yushan together, robbing another team's treasure. If you don't want to be crippled, then hand over all your treasures. Yushan stood in front of the team members and said in a domineering manner, You all know how powerful Brother Nidian is. If you dare to run or resist, I'll use my Nidian mystic art on you and cripple you. This team had just found a 300-year snow lotus, and beside it there was a white bear guarding it. They had spent a lot of effort to defeat the white bear, and just as they were about to reap the fruit of victory, they bumped into Nidian and Yushan and they came to steal it. They had naturally heard of Nitian's exploits, and so they didn't dare resist in front of him. They weren't Zhang Naipeo and they weren't Lin Yi. But Yushan hadn't even finished his sentence when Lin Yi's palm slammed into his chest, sending him flying. His body flew in a parabola as he landed on the snow not far away, creating a huge crater. He spat out a mouthful of blood mixed with bits of organs, his face pale as a sheet. I'm an idiot, why didn't I dodge? My heaven-defying divine art needs time to charge up. Feng Nidian said, disappointed that Lin Yi didn't live up to his expectations. Suddenly he formed a few weird hand seals in the air, and when Lin Yi turned around and slapped him again, he used his heaven-defying arts. In an instant Lin Yi was frozen on the spot. He was still in the same position as before, but he couldn't move at all and he couldn't even speak. What? Yushan didn't think that Nitian's art needed time to charge up. He thought that Nitian could control it as he pleased. Yushan felt a wave of sadness wash over him. Why was he so unlucky? He could have tortured Lin Yi and Yu Bing, but now he was heavily injured by Lin Yi. Now his meridians and organs were all damaged. Even if his meridians were healed by the meridian opening pill, his organs wouldn't be healed. Even if they were healed, his strength would drop drastically. Not to mention inheriting the position of the head of the house, he might not even be able to get enough elixirs like before. As a family, Yushan knew House Yu's style too well. In House Yu there was no such thing as familial love, only family benefits. The house wouldn't take special care of him just because he was a descendant of House Yu. If he was crippled, the house might take care of him, but they wouldn't invest any more resources into him. Even if his father wanted to fight for it, his grandfather wouldn't allow it. Bro. Why didn't you say so earlier? Yushan covered his sunken chest and said sadly. Who knew that you'd be so dumb that you wouldn't even dodge someone's attack? You're a mystic mid-phase, even if you're weaker than a mystic late phase, you shouldn't be unable to dodge even one move, right? You're just a piece of trash. I really regret listening to you and working with you. Nitian looked at Yushan coldly. In his eyes, Yushan no longer had any value to him. He was just a cripple now, and the conditions he promised him before were no longer going to be fulfilled. I'm sorry, Nitian bro. But please avenge me, Nitian bro. If Yu Bing becomes a cripple like me, then I'll still have a chance to recover my strength. At that time my promise will still be valid. Yushan saw the disappointment in Nitian's eyes and quickly said. Besides, he had calculated that out of the young men in House Yu, he and Yu Bing were the best. If Yu Bing were to be crippled as well, then he'd be on the same starting line as him. House Yu couldn't just let two of the best of the young generation be crippled, and so they'd try their best to save them. Chapter 15:12. Since Yu Bing and Lin Yi were enemies, then he'd continue. Yushan was trash, but what he promised him before, Feng Nitian would still do it. This was the problem of an ancient noble house's promise. With this start, he believed that he would have many collaborators by his side in the future. Plus, after hearing Yushan's words, Feng Nitian didn't plan on letting Lin Yi and Yu Bing, just like he said if Yu Bing was crippled he still had hope. Yushan, don't even think about it. Even if I'm crippled, I won't let you have it easy. Yu Bing said. That's not up to you. Yushan laughed, relieved after hearing that Feng Nitian wasn't planning on letting Lin Yi and Yu Bing go. Your teammates are locked by Nitian bro. If you take another step forward, you'll be locked as well. Yu Bing paused and raised his head to look at Lin Yi, only to realize that Lin Yi wasn't moving at all. At this moment, Lin Yi was still in the posture of a palm strike as if he was about to attack, but he couldn't. Lin Yi was indeed locked by Feng Nitian's art. Right now Lin Yi could think, he could see what was happening in front of him, he could hear each other's words, but he couldn't move his body. As expected, Lin Yi thought to himself it was just like what Yu Bing described, his body seemed to be locked by something and no matter what, he couldn't move at all. Lin Yi, I admit that you are strong, able to defeat Zhang Naipeo, but you will still lose in front of me. No one under Earth class can break through my domain. Your body won't be able to move. Nitian looked at the motionless Lin Yi, feeling a sense of accomplishment. He hadn't fought Naipeo before, but they were both disciples of the ancient level, and he still had the intention to compete with him. It was just that they couldn't really fight because of their statuses, but neither of them were willing to give in to the other. Both of them wanted to be stronger than the other. But now he could beat Lin Yi and Lin Yi had injured Naipeo. This meant that he could beat Naipeo. How could he not be happy? Brother Nitian, I finally found you. You are? Isn't this Brother Ling? Chikuan and Chijio weren't in the same team as Nitian, so they'd been looking for Nitian and Yushan the whole time. Now that they'd finally found Nitian. But something seemed to have happened. Master Kun, it seems like they've started fighting. Chijio said softly. That's. Chikuan paused and hesitated, but he still retreated to the side. He had heard that Ling Yi had crippled Naipeo and it shocked him greatly. He didn't think that Ling Yi would be this strong, able to defeat Naipeo from the ancient sect. This made Chikuan regret being with Yushan. If he didn't have Yushan, then wouldn't he, Ling Yi and Nitian be invincible? But now Chikuan saw that Lin Yi and Nidian were fighting, and after some hesitation he decided not to help either side. As far as he was concerned, Lin Yi and Nidian's chances were 50-50, and he didn't think that Nidian could win. What's going on? We all know each other and we're friends. Chikuan pretended like he didn't know what was going on. Chikuan, this has nothing to do with you, just watch from the side. Yushan quickly said, afraid that Chikuan would come and mess things up. Alright. Chikuan was just thinking that he didn't have a reason to watch from the sidelines, so he agreed to Yushan's words. What should we do? Chi-Chi couldn't help but ask Yu Bing as she looked at the motionless Lin Yi. I don't know. But let's not mess things up. With Lin Yi taking on Naipeo as a precedent, Yu Bing trusted Lin Yi. He wouldn't make a move if he wasn't confident. Oh. Chi-Chi frowned but didn't move. Alright, I'll take care of you first, then I'll take care of you too. Nidian looked at Chi-Chi and Yu Bing as he spoke to Lin Yi. With that, Feng Nidian swung his fist at Lin Yi. He didn't use any skills at all. From his point of view, Lin Yi was no different from a dead man. He could only stand there and take his punches. Using any skills was pointless. He might as well just throw a punch. Boom. A loud explosion sounded, and Yu Bing and Chi-Chi closed their eyes as far as they were concerned. Lin Yi was strong, but this time, there was nothing he could do. After all, Nidian was different from Zhang Naipeo. Nidian's arts were too special, and he could lock people in place and make them unable to move. This explosion was much louder than Naipeo's earlier explosion, and it could even be described as an earth-shattering sound. In an instant, all the snow around Lin Yi and Nidian was blown into the air, and the snow was flying all around them, making it impossible to see what was happening. Brother Nidian is really amazing. Not only is his Nidian divine skill heaven-defying, but even this ordinary move is also heaven-defying. Yushan looked at the sky full of snow and said respectfully. He felt much calmer now, knowing that Lin Yi wouldn't be able to survive this, and even if he did, he'd be on his last breath. Chikuan, on the other hand, had a shocked expression on his face as well. He didn't expect Nidian to be able to use such a strong move other than his arts. People from the ancient houses were indeed different. Yu Bing called out subconsciously. His relationship with Lin Yi wasn't as simple as a temporary teammate, they were good friends and even brother-in-law. He didn't want anything to happen to Lin Yi. The avalanche exploded with a strong aura, pushing Yu Bing, Chi-Chi, Chikuan and Chijio back. They were all practitioners and that was why they didn't fall to the ground. Chapter 15-13. Chi-Chi really wanted to apologize to Lin Yi, but there didn't seem to be a chance. At the peak of the snowy mountain, Qing and the sect master naturally saw everything that was going on. The snow made it hard for them to see what was going on. Aunt Qing, who do you think will win? The sect master asked faintly as she looked into the distance. Hard to say, but Feng Nidian has a higher chance of winning, right? Qing said. I didn't expect the other ancient sects and ancient families to be this trashy. Their two disciples who trained in ancient techniques are trash. The sect master frowned, a look of disappointment and disdain flashing in her eyes. Palace mistress, you mean? First class Ling won? Little Qing asked in astonishment. The winner is set, Feng Nidian's loss is set in stone. The sect master said, Ling Yi won this round again. Just who is this guy? Is he really just a solo practitioner? Do you need me to look into it? Qing asked. No need, no matter how strong he is, it has nothing to do with us. The sect master waved her hand telling Qing not to do that. The inner sect of the Ice Palace didn't accept male disciples or guest elders, so no matter how strong Lin Yi was, it had nothing to do with the Ice Palace. Yu Bing clenched his fists, breathing heavily as he stared at the scene. He wanted to see through the layers of snow and see what was going on, but he didn't have X-ray vision. He couldn't see what was going on and he didn't know if Lin Yi was dead or alive. Chi-Chi, on the other hand, had made up her mind. Lin Yi, we may not be friends, but you've helped me so many times. A young Chi-Chi, am not an ungrateful person. But if you die, then the grudge between us will be over. But I will avenge you. Lin Yi, young Chi-Chi. I won't let Nidian and Yushan go. I'm not their match yet, but I believe that one day I'll be able to. Chikuan and Chijio, on the other hand, didn't dare get too close. They stood far away watching the situation. Chikuan was a slick man, cunning and introverted. He was treading on thin ice in House Xiao, but he only had one goal, to become the head of the hidden house. In his eyes, there was no such thing as arrogance, nor did he care about face. As long as someone could help him, he could become his ally. Even if that person was once his enemy, it didn't matter. But now Zhao Qikuan wasn't enemies with these two groups, so no matter who won, Zhao Qikuan would be able to maintain his relationship with them. The snow that filled the sky finally dissipated under the blowing of the strong wind. Gradually, the situation in the field could be seen clearly. However, to everyone's surprise, there wasn't a single person left standing. Lin Yi and Nidian were both on the ground, and the white snow had turned red as well. Blood was everywhere, but they couldn't tell whose blood it was. Lin Yi, Yu Bing called out nervously. Nidian bro. The scene shocked Yushan as well. He didn't think that Nidian would be on the ground as well. How was this possible? Lin Yi couldn't move at all and could only take the beating. How was Nidian injured? Finally, all the flying snow had dispersed, and everyone could finally see the specific situation in the field clearly. Yushan couldn't help but scream. He saw that Nidian's shirt was completely tattered, and his upper body was covered in blood. It was a horrifying sight, as if he had suffered a serious injury. On the other hand, Lin Yi didn't seem to be injured at all. Lin Yi was lying on the snow, and the only thing on his body was the unharmed woman. He didn't know how Lin Yi was, but from the surface, it seemed like Nidian was in a much more serious condition. The scene in front of him shocked Qikuan as well. As expected, the ancient noble houses weren't invincible, but with Zhang Naipeo as an example, it wasn't surprising that Nidian was injured, but Lin Yi, on the other hand, made Qikuan very wary. He didn't know how he was, but if he was fine, then Qikuan would pay any price to be friends with him. This was very important for him to become the head of House Zhao in the future. Just when everyone was in shock, the two people in the field moved at the same time. But to everyone's surprise, the first one to get up wasn't Lin Yi, but Nidian. Could it be that Lin Yi's injuries were more serious than Nidian's? Yu Bing and Yang Qiqi, who saw that Xiao Xiao was fine, let out a sigh of relief. Now they couldn't help but get nervous again. Xiao Xiao looked fine, but Lin Yi was on the ground and no one knew what was going on with him. Could it be that he was heavily injured? Or was he already? These people were right, Lin Yi's injuries were much more serious than Nidian's. But the severity of the injuries had nothing to do with the effects of the injuries. Although Nidian moved first, that only meant that he had enough qi in his body to support it. And Lin Yi's injuries were more serious because he had no qi left in his body. Right now his meridians were all broken and he was in the jade space, using every second to heal himself. This was the same as last time when he fought with Ma Zhuke. There was no qi left in Lin Yi's body, and his meridians were broken as well. There was no way for him to recover his strength, and all he could do was slowly heal the wounds on his body. But if he wanted to heal his meridians, it was impossible without external help. The reason for this was because Lin Yi had used 2 qi bombs in a row today. The first time was on Naipeo, and although he didn't compress all of his qi, only half of it was used up, and Lin Yi didn't have time to enter the jade space to recover. And under that situation, Lin Yi couldn't enter the jade space to compress his qi again. It wasn't practical. Chapter 15-14. However, the moment the bomb exploded, Lin Yi was afraid that the explosion would hurt Xiao Xiao on his back, so he used the last bit of qi he had left to protect her, and that was why this happened. Once again, Lin Yi became a cripple with all his meridians broken. But this time, Lin Yi wasn't worried at all, because Lin Yi had thought of this outcome before using the energy bomb, and he had made preparations in advance. General Wei Wu wasn't here, but the second disciple of General Wei Wu, Skybolt Pig, was beside him, and inside the pig's body, Lin Yi had injected a lot of pure energy, and it could be used by Lin Yi as well. So as long as he killed Nidian and settled down, Lin Yi could use Skybolt Pig to recover his strength. With the previous lesson, Lin Yi wouldn't do something reckless like that again. Especially this time, his life and Xiao Xiao's safety were closely linked. Lin Yi had to plan before he acted. He couldn't take any risks. Lin Yi had to recover from his injuries first, at least stand up and look like he wasn't injured at all. That was the only way he could scare off those people. As for his strength, he could recover slowly, and he believed that after he crippled Zhang Naipeo and Feng Nidian, no one would dare to provoke him anymore. As long as Lin Yi looked fine, no one would dare to touch Lin Yi. And so Lin Yi didn't care about Feng Nidian at all. He could touch him if he wanted to. In Lin Yi's eyes, Feng Nitian was already a cripple, and no matter what he did, it wouldn't affect Lin Yi at all. Feng Nitian, on the other hand, climbed up from the snow with difficulty, but he looked very pitiful right now. He wasn't standing up, he was kneeling on the snow. His legs were obviously seriously injured and he couldn't even stand up. It was just like what Lin Yi had said before, to let him stand and go back in a wheelchair. Impossible. This is impossible. Nitian's face paled, he couldn't believe what was happening in front of him. He wanted to rub his eyes, wanting to see more clearly, but he was shocked to find that his arms were already gone. Where was his arm? Why was his arm gone? At this point the others could clearly see Nitian's face. His right arm was completely gone and his left arm was missing half of it. As for where the missing limbs had gone, no one had discovered it. Perhaps it had already exploded into pieces. Brother Ning, what's wrong? Yushan looked at Nitian in disbelief, as if he wanted to say that this wasn't real, but Nitian really was crippled. It wasn't as simple as losing his arms and legs, he didn't even have an arm. Under such circumstances, even if he recovered, he would be a cripple, unable to cultivate anymore. My arm. My arm. This isn't possible, this isn't possible. This isn't real. Nitian seemed to have gone crazy as he mumbled to himself. He couldn't accept this cruel reality. The heaven-defying godly technique that he cultivated relied on using his hands to form hand seals. Now that he had lost both his hands and even one of his arms, that heaven-defying godly technique could no longer be used. How could he accept this? He was the pride of the younger generation of House Feng, the strongest competitor for the position of the head of the house, but now everything was gone. Without the advantage of the art, Nitian was nothing. He had lost his arm and his legs were broken. His body was heavily injured as well, and it seemed like his meridians were mostly broken as well. This made Nitian a cripple, and even the ancient House Feng wouldn't be able to turn this around. Damaged meridians could be repaired with the meridian opening pill, but a lost arm was gone and there was no way it could grow back. He had never heard of anyone regrowing a lost arm. Lin Yi. Yu Bing saw that Nitian was standing up, but Lin Yi wasn't moving at all. He was starting to panic. Nitian looked terrible, but at least he was still alive. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was lying on the ground, not moving at all. How could he not be worried? Qing, on the top of the snowy mountain, was confused as well. Sect Master, that Ling Yi, is he done? I know. Perhaps he used all his qi to protect the girl behind him. The Sect Master frowned. Then he really is an infatuated man. Qing sighed. Does that mean that he lost in the end? It's hard to say. I feel like something's not right. The Sect Master shook her head. This Ling Yi doesn't seem like an impulsive person. Perhaps he's not dead yet. I hope so, otherwise if Ling Yi really is dead, then it'd be troublesome. Qing said. Nitian broke the rules of the test and killed someone, but he was heavily injured as well. We can't punish him, but we can't not punish him either. We really don't know what to do. We won't go that far. The ancient House Feng wouldn't go against us for a crippled person. The Sect Master wasn't worried about that. As they were talking, Lin Yi suddenly moved. What was different from Nitian was that Lin Yi jumped up, not struggling to get up from the ground. Lin Yi's clothes were tattered as well, but Lin Yi looked refreshed, as if he wasn't injured at all. Lin Yi. Thank goodness. Yu Bing looked at Lin Yi and calmed down. He cheered excitedly. You really are strong. You didn't disappoint me. Ha. Lin Yi smiled faintly, feeling a little helpless inside. He knew himself the best. That leap he'd made just now had taken a long time to gather his strength. In fact, his body was still very weak right now. His organs and meridians were all heavily injured, and Lin Yi only used the art of dragon mastery to heal the surface of his body. From the outside it looked like he wasn't injured at all, but that wasn't the case. Chapter 15:15. But now it was too late for regrets. In an instant, the ancient sects and noble houses had fallen from their pedestals in Yushan's heart. From the high and mighty existences that he could only look up to, now he felt that Lin Yi was the one that he could only look up to. In front of him, the disciples of the ancient sects and noble houses were nothing. You're fine? You're fine? Nitian looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. His face was filled with disbelief and unwillingness. If Lin Yi was dead or heavily injured, then Nitian would feel better. But Lin Yi was perfectly fine right now. How could he accept this? I'm fine. I'm fine. Lin Yi nodded with a smile. Impossible. Impossible. I clearly used a heaven-defying divine art to freeze you in place, so how can you still make a move against me? How is this possible? This is impossible. Nidian looked at Lin Yi, trying to find a reason for his failure. You're a mystic class master, how could my arts not work on you? It worked, who said it didn't work? I was frozen before, didn't you see? Lin Yi shook his head and said. What? If I was frozen, how could you attack me? Nidian asked. Who told you that you can't attack when you're frozen? Lin Yi smiled coldly. What? Nidian paused. How can I attack when I'm frozen? I did, didn't I? Lin Yi said. Did your arts tell you that you can't attack when you're frozen, or did your elders tell you that you can't attack when you're frozen? But, Nidian thought to himself. Indeed, they didn't tell him that he couldn't attack when he was frozen, but how could he attack when he was frozen? He couldn't think of an answer, and all that was left was shock. Lin Yi didn't explain anymore because there was no need to explain anything. What was there to say to a cripple? So Lin Yi said to Yu Bing, give me their treasures, we can leave. Lin Yi urgently needed to find a quiet place to recuperate. He had been forcing himself to leave this place as soon as possible. All right. Yu Bing nodded and walked up, taking all of Yu Shan's belongings, including the one Nidian left with Yu Shan. Yu Bing, you killed your brother, I'll explain it to Grandpa. Just you wait, House Yu's punishment is waiting for you. Yu Shan gritted his teeth as he watched Yu Bing take away all of his treasures. He screamed with all of his strength, unwilling to give up. Slaughter? I was the one who hit you. Did you get the wrong person? Lin Yi looked at Yu Shan and said faintly, when you go back, you can tell House Yu to come find me anytime. Yu Bing knows who I am. Let's go. With that, Lin Yi turned around and walked away, not looking at Nidian and Yu Shan anymore. That's. Yu Shan reacted abruptly. Yes, it was Ling Yi who hurt him, it had nothing to do with Yu Bing. Yu Bing had been standing there the whole time, not even moving a finger. Even if he wanted to blame it on him, it was impossible. With that thought, Yu Shan was a little annoyed. He was thinking about how to make it sound like Yu Bing colluded with Ling Yi to hurt him so that Grandpa could punish him. If he couldn't become the head of the house, then Yu Bing wouldn't be able to get any benefits. At the peak of the snow mountain, the sect master's face was still expressionless, as if she had already predicted this. She ordered Aunt Qing, send the two cripples back. Nidian and Yu Shan were different from Naipeo. Naipeo's meridians were broken, but he could still move, so the ice palace didn't need to send him back. But now that Nidian and Yu Shan couldn't even walk, the ice palace could only send them back to their houses. Yes. Little Qing nodded and went to arrange for a disciple to receive them. Qikun looked at Nidian and Yu Shan, then at Lin Yi. He had a plan in mind, but in order to not offend the ancient house Feng, he pretended to be regretful. Hey, what's going on? How did they get into a fight? Medium bro, Ling bro, you guys. Sai, it's really hard to be a follower. This has nothing to do with you. Nidian was hurt, but he didn't want to lose the prestige of an ancient house. He held back his sadness as he spoke. As they spoke, two disciples in white appeared, ignoring Lin Yi and the others as they walked towards Nidian and Yu Shan. Nidian, Yu Shan, you two are injured and can no longer participate in the test. Elder Qing has ordered us to send you two back. With that, the two didn't wait for Nidian and Yu Shan's response, they each picked them up and flew down the mountain. The Ice Palace's quick response, it was beyond Lin Yi's expectations. Now it seemed like he was right. The Ice Palace's people had been monitoring the participants' movements, otherwise they wouldn't have known about Nidian and Yu Shan's injuries so quickly. Ling bro, you're really something. I've said it before, brother, you're not someone to be trifled with, it seems like I'm right. I'm impressed. Qikuan's way of addressing him had changed from Ige to follower. It was obvious that he was trying to suck up to Lin Yi. I'm all right. Lin Yi said faintly, Brother Qikuan, I've got some internal injuries and I need to find a place to heal. We'll meet again. Lin Yi didn't hide the fact that he was injured. If he wasn't injured at all, it would be weird. It was normal for him to be injured, but Lin Yi didn't tell them the extent of his injuries. He only said that he was slightly injured, but on the surface, it didn't look like he had any serious internal injuries. I see. That's perfect, I'll protect you, Qikuan said as he patted his chest. As for ambushing Lin Yi, he didn't even think about it. As far as he was concerned, even if Lin Yi was injured, he was still much stronger than him. Even the disciples of the ancient sects and noble houses weren't a match for him. So who the hell was he? All Chikuin was thinking about was how to get close to Lin Yi. This way he'd have a super strong ally, and it would be very important for him to fight for the position of the head of the house. Chapter 15-16. Although the hidden families weren't as powerful as the ancient sects or ancient families, the aristocratic family arbitration association wasn't just for show. The aristocratic family arbitration association wasn't inferior to an ancient sect. If an ancient sect really wanted to make a move against the hidden families, then the aristocratic family arbitration association would definitely send out a heaven-rank summon to have the hidden families and ordinary sects unite to resist the ancient sect or ancient family. Moreover, one of the founders of the aristocratic family arbitration association had a deep relationship with the older generation of the ancient sects and ancient aristocratic families. Although these people were no longer around and no one knew where they went, their relationship still existed. Therefore, the ancient world would not easily interfere with the matters of the secular world and the hidden world. Nidian was gone and Chikuin breathed out in relief. This way he could interact with Lin Yi without fear, and so he suggested protecting Lin Yi to get on Lin Yi's good side. Lin Yi sighed and nodded. All right, let's find a quiet place and you guys protect me. No problem. Leave it to me. Don't worry, brotherling, just focus on healing. I won't let anyone disturb you, not even a mosquito. Chikuin patted his chest with a promise. He changed the way he addressed Lin Yi from brotherling to brotherling. It was just one word, but the meaning was completely different, yet it didn't seem out of place. This was where Zhao Chikuin's intelligence came from. Lin Yi smiled faintly and didn't say anything. He could tell that Chikuin wasn't that popular in House Zhao, or else he wouldn't be in such a rush to get allies. And so Lin Yi didn't have to worry about him being on the same side as Qibing. Cousin Yubing, please take care of me in the future as well. Chikuin smiled as he greeted Yubing. I'm just trying to make a living with you, brotherling. Yubing didn't say anything more. After all, Lin Yi had already accepted Chikuin, and Yubing didn't have to be petty and chase him away. Plus the two were related. Of course. Chikuin quickly nodded. Just like what you said, cousin Yubing, we're all with Bro Ling now. Whatever conflicts we had before, we can forget about it. We're his lackeys, we can't fight amongst ourselves. Yubing found it funny. This guy used to have a good relationship with Yushan, but now that Yushan was crippled and Feng Nidian was crippled, he saw that Lin Yi was strong and now he ran over to bow down to him. To be honest, Yubing looked down on people like this, but as long as you were strong enough, you could make people like him be your lackey. Are you alright? Then why didn't you wake up earlier? You're so scary. Chi-Chi humphed. She wouldn't admit that she was worried about Lin Yi. Ha. When Lin Yi was healing in the jade space, he was lying on the ground, but he could still sense the outside world. He saw Chi-Chi's expression clearly and heard what she said as well. But at this point, Lin Yi couldn't be bothered with this girl anymore. The crowd had long since dispersed. In their eyes, Lin Yi was already a legend. First he crippled Zhang Naipeo and then he crippled Feng Nidian. With this kind of strength and methods, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to call him the #1 under Earth class. Before, in the eyes of these mystics, Zhang Naipeo and Feng Nidian were already the #1 in the mystic class, but now they knew that Lin Yi was even stronger than them. This shocked them, and naturally they didn't dare to get too close to Lin Yi. Who knew if he was like Zhang Naipeo and Feng Nidian, someone who liked to steal other people's treasures? Even if he didn't steal, if he wanted the same treasure as him, then there was no need for conflict. It was better to stay as far away from him as possible. Lin Yi found a quiet place to hide from the wind and took off Xiao Xiao. He laid her flat on the snow while Lin Yi sat cross-legged. He waved at Skybolt Pig. Come here. Skybolt Pig didn't know why Lin Yi was looking for him. He thought that Lin Yi was going to give him chi again. He was very happy and jumped onto Lin Yi. This little thing is an ancient spirit beast? That's fun. Is it a pet? Chikuin didn't know what Skybolt Pig was used for, but he looked left and right. He didn't think that it had any attacking abilities. Perhaps it was just a pet. And Yubing replied faintly, not explaining much. He wasn't familiar with Chikuin right now, so naturally he couldn't tell him everything. Yang Chi-Chi, on the other hand, always maintained a cold attitude towards people she didn't know. Her face was cool as if she didn't see Chikuin at all. But Chikuin wasn't annoyed. Who knew what relationship this cool girl had with Lin Yi? If the two really did have some sort of relationship, It wouldn't be nice if he offended her. Now that she was ignoring him, he didn't mind as long as she didn't reject him. Skybolt Pig was excited to receive the pure energy from Lin Yi, but in the next moment he realized that not only did Lin Yi's pure energy not give him a single bit, but it was also flowing into Lin Yi's body at an incredible speed. Oink oink. Skybolt Pig jumped. Could it be that Lin Yi had learned Zhang Naipeo's wasp absorption arts? Otherwise, how could he absorb other people's qi? Don't be noisy, I'll help you recover later. Lin Yi comforted the pig. Oink oink. Skybolt Pig calmed down after hearing Lin Yi's words. After spending so much time with Lin Yi, he had a general understanding of Lin Yi's personality. Whatever Lin Yi said, he would do it, so he wasn't worried that Lin Yi would lie to him. Fortunately, he had prepared beforehand, turning Skybolt Pig into General Wei Wu's second disciple. Otherwise, with his meridians damaged, there was nothing he could do. He couldn't go back to General Wei Wu, could he? What about Feng Xiaoxiao? Skybolt Pig's energy flowed into Lin Yi's body, healing his meridians quickly. This made Lin Yi sigh in relief. As long as his meridians were healed, the rest would be easy. Recovering his strength was only a matter of time. Qikuan and Qijio didn't know how Lin Yi was healing, but they stood 1 meter away from Lin Yi, coldly observing the surroundings, afraid that something would disturb Lin Yi. Yu Bing and Qiqi on the other hand were also wary of Qikuan and Qijio. They knew that these two wouldn't dare do anything, but it was always better to be careful. Chapter 15-17. As a result, Qikuan and the others thought that Lin Yi had been healing for a long time. They were all practitioners and they knew that it was normal for a small injury to take a day and a night to heal. Only Yu Bing and Qiqi looked at each other, seeing the worry in each other's eyes. They knew of Lin Yi's insane healing methods. Qiqi's injuries were so severe, and Lin Yi healed her in no time at all. But now Lin Yi had used the entire afternoon and he still hadn't finished healing. How bad was Lin Yi's injuries? But as worried as they were, they didn't say anything. They couldn't let anyone else know about this, especially Qikuan and the others. It's night, you guys must be sleepy. Rest first, I'll take care of things here. Qikuan said to Qiqi and Yu Bing. It's nothing, we're all practitioners, it's fine even if we don't sleep. The qi here is thick too and it's good for training. Yu Bing said, I think we should keep watch at night while training. Sounds good. Qikuan didn't object and nodded. In the latter half of the night, Lin Yi had recovered his strength, but he didn't break through again. Perhaps it was because he had just broken through, but this time he was only at mystic late phase. But if other people knew that Lin Yi was regretful even after recovering, they'd probably vomit blood. For example, Zhang Naipeo and Feng Nidian, they were 100 times worse than Lin Yi right now. Lin Yi stood up and let out a long breath. In an instant, his strength as a mystic late phase was on full display. Yu Bing and Qikuan, on the other hand, weren't sleeping, they were sitting on the ground, training while waiting for Lin Yi to recover. When Lin Yi stood up, everyone came back to their senses. Qikuan and Qijio were fine, but Yu Bing and Qiqi quickly stood up, a look of joy on their faces. It seemed like Lin Yi had recovered. Lin Yi, you've recovered? Yu Bing asked happily. Yeah, I'm fine, it's nothing, just a small injury. Lin Yi understood what Yu Bing meant, but because Qikuan was here, he acted like he didn't care. That's good. Yu Bing understood Lin Yi's meaning immediately. Haha, I saw Nitian's injuries before, so I was wondering if you were injured as well. But since you recovered so quickly, it's just a small injury. Of course, Brother Ling is the strongest under Earth class, how could he be injured? Qikuan said respectfully, in the Mystic class, I don't think there's anyone who can fight Brother Ling anymore. Even an Earth class would have the strength to fight him. Alright, let's all rest. Thank you for protecting me, it's my turn now, you guys can rest in peace. Lin Yi didn't mind Qikuan's words at all. Lin Yi wasn't someone who liked being flattered, he knew his own strength. And whether or not he could fight an Earth class wasn't something that could be said with words. Lin Yi, aren't you going to rest? Yu Bing asked curiously, but then he remembered that Lin Yi had been training instead of sleeping. That's fine, we won't hold back then. Sleep well, we still need to continue searching for treasures tomorrow. Qikuan was sleepy as well. After hearing what Lin Yi said, he didn't hold back. Alright, thanks for the trouble, Brother Ling. We'll sleep for a bit. As far as Qikuan was concerned, with Lin Yi here, no one would be stupid enough to come looking for trouble. Wasn't that the same as suicide? Did they think they were stronger than Zhang Naipeo or Feng Nidian? Of course, unless Lin Yi wanted to do something to him. But if Lin Yi really wanted to do something to him, it didn't matter if he slept or not. Qikuan didn't think he was stronger than Zhang Naipeo or Feng Nidian. If Lin Yi wanted to do something, he could kill him right now. There was no need to wait for him to sleep. And so Qikuan just fell to the ground and slept, not caring about the danger. Seeing how relaxed Qikuan was, Yu Bing shook his head and smiled. This guy was quite something, much stronger than his blood-related cousin. But who was the head of House Xiao? Yu Bing couldn't say anything. That was House Xiao's business. Yu Bing and his cousin weren't that close, and it didn't mean that Yu Bing would get any benefits if his cousin became the head of House Xiao. They were relatives, but when it came to the family's benefits came first. Not to mention, even a relative like Yu Shan would become an enemy for the sake of profit. And so, it wasn't that Yu Bing couldn't accept being in a relationship with Qikuan, but he felt that this guy's personality wasn't very good. The everyday sex base. Naipeo had already rushed back to his sect, and after driving to the nearest airport he took a plane back to his sect city. His stamina right now wasn't enough for a long journey. But this way it was a lot faster. Senior brother Naipeo, why are you here? Didn't you participate in the test? The disciple guarding the gate saw Naipeo and asked curiously. Yeah. Naipeo was panicking. He wanted to see his teacher, but he didn't have the time to talk to the disciple. His heart was in a mess and he didn't know how he should face his teacher. He was the pride of the everyday sect, a disciple that even the elder of the sect valued, but in the test his meridians were all severed and he became a cripple. How would he have the face to see these people who placed their hopes on him? The disciple frowned as he watched Naipeo leave, cursing in his heart, fuck, he's acting like he's some bullshit. Isn't he just a dead eunuch? I'll castrate myself, of course I'll be stronger than you. But I'm not an idiot and I know that I don't have the potential to reach Sky Class, so I'll wait until I reach Mystic, then I'll pass away and become a bodyguard in the common world, enjoying life as a bodyguard for a school beauty or something. Of course he didn't know that Naipeo was already crippled. If he did, he probably wouldn't be calling him senior brother Naipeo anymore. Chapter 15:18. How was he supposed to face Pinliang if he went down the mountain like this? He'd promised Pinliang that he'd help him get his revenge when he returned, but now it was all gone. Not only was he unable to get his revenge, he'd even been injured by Lin Yi. Naipeo felt very wronged. Why? He'd trained in the ancient chrysanthemum arts, gone through so much pain and suffering that normal people couldn't endure, but in the end he still lost. He couldn't accept it. The Chrysanthemum Treasure Book was one of the two supreme mantras of the martial arts world. The art of dragon mastery had been lost for a long time. It was said that the person who practiced this mantra had died in an accident, and he had no successor to inherit his legacy. So the art of dragon mastery was forever buried underground. The Chrysanthemum arts became one of the strongest arts in the Wuling world, but one that couldn't even beat Lin Yi? What kind of level was this? Is Naipeo back? A voice sounded from the yard and a black-robed figure floated out, stopping in front of Naipeo. Master, it's me. I've let you down. Naipeo couldn't hold back his tears the moment he saw his master. All the hardships he'd gone through since he'd started training surfaced in his mind, vivid in his mind. From the high spirits he'd felt at the start of the test to the pain he'd felt now, it was like a century had passed. It was like a dream. You're crippled. The master looked at Naipeo, noticing the problem. He actually broke your wasp absorption arts? Master, I'm done for, my meridians are all broken. I'm a cripple now. Naipeo said, a little depressed. I met Lin Yi, my enemy, the one who crippled Uncle Heibao. Oh? Sim. He actually broke your wasp absorbing technique. The sect leader master was a little surprised. Sim. I want to tear him to pieces. But it's impossible now. Naipeo said in pain. Ah. The sect leader suddenly burst into laughter. Moreover, he seemed to be very happy. What are you laughing at? Naipeo paused, not understanding what the master was saying. Naipeo, you really are the lucky star of our everyday sect. The sect leader master said with a smile. It seems that my junior brother Black Leopard has also recommended a talent to me. What do you mean? Naipeo paused. Come in, Naipeo, today you and I, master and disciple, will have a good talk. Allow me to answer your questions. Let's talk about the chrysanthemum arts. The master helped Naipeo up as he spoke in a serious tone. Yes. Naipeo's heart skipped a beat. It seemed like his master wasn't giving up on him yet, as if he had something important to tell him. Naipeo quickly got up and walked into the yard with his master. Sit, Naipeo. Sect headmaster stretched out his hand and pointed to a chair next to a stone table in the courtyard. Yes. The master said, we've trained a few core disciples to practice the chrysanthemum arts, and naturally they castrated themselves as well, but because they didn't have hatred in their hearts, they went mad and exploded. This hatred must come from the heart and it can't be faked, so after the failed experiment no one else has tried this art. No wonder I thought I was so lucky. I thought Master Heibao was that lucky. Naipeo said. Chapter 15:19. So hatred has its benefits? Naipeo said, surprised. Naturally, hatred has its benefits as well as its drawbacks. Using hatred to motivate yourself is a benefit, of course. The master said. Of course, hatred is one facet and your potential is quite good as well. That's why you've improved so much. But, master, now that my meridians are all broken, Naipeo's face darkened at the thought of his situation. So what if your meridians are broken? It's a good thing. The master said. Do you know why you can't open the jade box for the second stage of the chrysanthemum arts? Does it have something to do with my meridians? Naipeo wasn't an idiot, he thought of the connection right away. The true essence of the chrysanthemum treasure book is that there can be no construction without destruction, and only after destruction can there be construction. The headmaster said, this is a very magical cultivation method. When you cultivated the first level it made you castrate yourself. This is the so-called destruction and then establishment. The second level is the same. If you want to cultivate the second level according to the records of our everyday and everyday sect, you must also destroy and then establish. Break and rise. Naipeo paused, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. That's right, in order to practice the second stage you have to lose all your strength. Only when you've lost all your strength and become a normal person can you start practicing the second stage again. The master said. Really? Naipeo stood up abruptly, surprised and happy. So you're saying that this is a blessing in disguise? You could say that. The master nodded. I've been trying to think of a way for you to break and rise. Do you know? When you couldn't open the jade box for the second layer of the mental cultivation method, I was very anxious to help you, but I couldn't. Ah? Why? If that's the case, why didn't you destroy my meridians yourself, making me lose all my strength? Naipeo asked, confused. If I were to destroy your meridians with my own hands, would you hate me? The master didn't answer Naipeo's question, instead asking a question in return. How could that be? Master gave me a helping hand, so how could I possibly hate Master? Naipeo shook his head and said sincerely, even if you crippled my strength for no reason, I wouldn't hold a grudge against you. After all, I'm a disciple of the sect and you're the headmaster. You're the one who gave me the chance and strength to train. You can take it back anytime you want, why would I have any complaints? Isn't that it? Sect leader master said, I've already said it before. When cultivating the chrysanthemum treasure manual, the most important thing is to cultivate it with hatred. If I were the one who did it, would there still be any hatred? Without hatred, how can we achieve our goals? So even this requires hatred? Naipeo still didn't understand, but why didn't Master tell me earlier? Previously, I didn't open the jade box, so I was very conflicted in my heart. Of course we need hatred. The headmaster nodded and said, if I tell you in advance, you may deliberately seek an opportunity to be beaten up, and then the effect of hatred will not be achieved. And now, even if you know, let me ask you, do you have hatred in your heart? Do you want revenge? Yes, of course. Naipeo nodded and gritted his teeth. I want to tear Lin Yi to pieces. Isn't that it? If I had told you before and you went to get beaten up, maybe you'd be grateful to the person, maybe even smiling. Why would there be hatred? The master said, this is also why I didn't tell you. I told you to participate in the test and let fate take its course. Hey, you know, I'm actually more anxious than you in my heart. I see, I understand now. Naipeo said, touched. Master, you're too good to me. You're my favorite disciple, the pride of our sect. Naturally, I have to be good to you. The master said, But if you want to step into the higher realms of martial arts, don't be in a hurry to get revenge. With hatred in your heart, it will help you grow. But I promise Liang bro, I'll get revenge for him as soon as possible. Naipeo said, troubled. You can torture him all you want, but don't kill him. Not only will you vent your anger, but the hatred in your heart won't go away either. The master said, do you know that once you enter Sky class, both your strength and your lifespan will increase tremendously? You'll even have the chance to enter the path of the heavens to pursue immortality. That's a good idea. Naipeo nodded after a sigh. Helping Pinliang get revenge was his goal, but he was in the sect now and the master's words were just as effective as Liang Bro's. This was a good way to deal with the situation, and he'd be able to help Liang Bro vent his anger and increase his strength at the same time. He believed that Liang Bro would be happy to have a strong subordinate for him. Alright, I've told you everything that needs to be said. You can go open the second stage of the Jade Box now. The master said, after that you can go into closed-door training. I won't disturb you any longer. I wish you good luck in mastering the second stage soon. But I don't even have my strength anymore. Can I practice the second stage directly? Naipeo asked, confused. What you've lost is only your strength, not your practitioner's arts. Your practitioner's arts and strength are separate. Sect leader Grandmaster said, you must remember your mental cultivation method is an ancient mental cultivation method. It is different from the mental cultivation methods of ordinary practitioners. Your current Chrysanthemum Treasure Codex is still at the first level, so you can directly cultivate the second level. I understand. Linny didn't have a choice, this guy was just too shameless. Linny could only say yes, but it wasn't a problem for now. He could cancel the relationship at any time. Boss, from today onwards I'll call you boss. Chikuin said happily, boss, let's go then? And since you want me to be your boss no matter what, there are some things I need to tell you first. You can decide if you want me to be your boss after I'm done. Linny sighed and decided to tell Chikuin about his identity. Of course, whether or not he wanted to follow him was up to Chikuin. At the very least, Chikuin wouldn't dare fight him right now. He could kill him anytime he wanted. So Lin-Yi wasn't worried that Chikuin would do something irrational. What is it? Chikuin paused. What is it that can stop me from calling you boss? My name isn't Ling-Yi actually. I'm Lin-Yi. Lin-Yi said. Ling-Yi? I think I've heard that name before. Chikuin felt that the name was familiar. Or had he heard it before? I'm the enemy of your hidden house, Xiao. I broke Xiao Qibing's leg, injured Uncle Zhu and Yao Wang. Linny said. And now do you still call me boss? Wah. Chikuin almost jumped up in shock at Lin Yi's words. I was wondering why it sounded so familiar, so you're the legendary Lin Yi. The one you've heard of. Lin Yi nodded. Then why not? If that's the case, then I'll call you boss even more. Chikuin was overjoyed. Lin Yi and Zhao Qibing were enemies. He was just worrying about how to convince Lin Yi to help him fight Zhao Qibing, but now he didn't even need to say anything. They were enemies in the first place. This was great news. You seem really happy? Isn't Zhao Qibing your brother or brother? Lin Yi squinted his eyes at Chikuin. His guess was right. Chikuin and Zhao Qibing really didn't get along. Yushan is Yu Bing's brother, right? He got crippled by you, boss, but Yu Bing seems really happy about it. Chikuin said. We're all smart people, Zhao Qibing and I. Haha. If that's the case, then there's no problem. Let's be on our way. Lin Yi saw that Chikuin's expression didn't look fake and relaxed. Plus you're too strong. That Zhao Qibing really doesn't know what's good for him, daring to mess with you. Crippling him is already letting him off easy, boss. Why didn't you kill him? Chikuin said regretfully. Yu Bing's mouth twitched. This guy was much crueler than him. It seemed that the fights in the other noble houses were intense as well. None of them wanted to be left out. He was too merciful. If he didn't hear that Yushan wanted to kill him, he wouldn't have made the decision to let Lin Yi do it. Do I need you to teach me what to do? Lin Yi said faintly as he looked at Chikuin. Of course not, I'm just saying. Chikuin jumped and quickly said, Boss, don't be angry. I just think that now that Zhao Chikuin has a Shifu, it'll be hard to deal with him. Shifu? He has a Shifu? Lin Yi paused. Chapter 1521. This elder Bai, he's an Earth-class late-phase peak? And he's your grandpa's personal butler? He's suddenly interested in Zhao Qibing's bastard son? Lin Yi frowned, thinking that this didn't make sense at all. Yeah, there must be something I don't know about, but I don't know what it is exactly. This is a family secret after all. They wouldn't let me know about it. Qikun shook his head. I had a good chance of becoming the next head, but Zhao Qibing's sudden appearance put my position in jeopardy. Oh, try to find out about it then. Lin Yi said that, but he didn't really care about the hidden house Zhao. Zhao Qibing wanted to become the head of the hidden house Zhao, but that would take a while. Even if he did become the head of the hidden house Zhao, he wouldn't be able to come and get revenge right away. Putting aside the fact that he wasn't as strong as Lin Yi, even if he was, he wouldn't act recklessly. Lin Yi understood what Qikun meant. Qikun wanted to use him against Zhao Qibing, but Lin Yi didn't have the time to do so yet. If Zhao Qibing didn't mess with him, he wouldn't have the time to go after him. After all, he had an Earth-class late-phase peak as his Shifu. It wouldn't be wise for Lin Yi to go after him. Alright, I'll find out about it when I get back. Qikun could tell that Lin Yi didn't want to make a move, but it didn't matter. Lin Yi and Qibing had such a huge grudge. He didn't believe that Qibing would just let it go. When Qibing had enough strength, he'd definitely go after Lin Yi for revenge. The more he followed Lin Yi, the more shocked Qikun was. He felt that Lin Yi had not taken any detours on this snowy mountain. He had been walking in circles as if he was specifically going for some heaven and earth treasures. Those heaven and earth treasures hidden under the roots and in the snow could be easily found by Lin Yi. In the blink of an eye, he and Chijio's points had broken through the 1,000 mark, and Lin Yi, Yubing and Qiqi were all showing signs of breaking through the 2,000 mark. Isn't this a little too awesome? Qikun had already decided not to stay in Ice Palace as an outer disciple, but since there were so many treasures, he might as well give the hidden house Zhao an exchange right. It was a symbol of honor as well, and at least it could prove his strength. Lin Yi didn't tell Qikun or Chijio about Skybolt Pig. Even when he was communicating with Skybolt Pig, Lin Yi only used the excuse of peeing as an excuse, not letting Qikun know. Still no sign of the fruit? Lin Yi frowned and asked Skybolt Pig. Oink. Skybolt Pig shook his head. Then let's keep going, there's still one more day to the end of the test. Lin Yi sighed. Things had already exceeded Lin Yi's expectations. The Ice Palace was an unexpected factor. At Zhang Liju's time, the Ice Palace didn't exist yet, and now that the Ice Palace had taken over this snowy mountain and named it Ice Mountain, the fire spirit fruit would most likely be theirs as well. At noon on the third day, Lin Yi and the others were almost at the top of the mountain, but from afar the peak was surrounded by a huge wall. In front of the wall, there were Ice Palace disciples in white robes patrolling. Evidently, this was the location of the Ice Palace. The forbidden zone for the participants this time. They wouldn't be able to go any further. The walls of the Ice Palace looked like they were made of ice, but upon closer inspection, Lin Yi realized that it looked more like a hard crystal. On top of the crystal wall there were cameras monitoring something. It seemed that the Ice Palace had modern electronic equipment. From this, one could see that the people of the Ice Palace weren't the type to follow the rules. This increased Lin Yi's confidence. Even if he really couldn't find the fruit, as long as he got the right to trade for treasures, he might be able to get what he wanted. But in the evening, Skybolt Pig suddenly moved and jumped onto Lin Yi, barking non-stop. Of course, Qikun and Chijio didn't know what Skybolt Pig was doing. They thought that he was just acting cute to Lin Yi. But Lin Yi understood what Skybolt Pig was trying to say. Skybolt Pig must have sensed the location of the fire spirit's fruit. This guy needs to pee, I'll bring him there. Lin Yi shrugged helplessly. Qikun was speechless. God, a spirit beast needs to carry someone to pee? Ha! Lin Yi smiled, not saying much. He carried Skybolt Pig and went behind a pile of snow. It's up there, I can feel it. Skybolt Pig quickly wrote down its meaning on the snowy ground. Up there? You mean inside the walls? Lin Yi looked up at the mountaintop. That was where the Ice Palace was. GG. Skybolt Pig nodded. As expected. Lin Yi sighed. It was just as he guessed. The fire spirit's fruit was taken by the Ice Palace, and it was impossible for him to find it himself. He could only hope that they won the test and trade it with the Ice Palace. Lin Yi carried the pig back and nodded to Qikun and the others. It's about time for the test to end. Let's take a break, everyone. Above us is the Ice Palace's territory and there aren't any treasures to be found. Yu Bing, Chikuan and the others all nodded and sat down. Since Lin Yi said he wanted to rest, they'd listen to him. Plus, the treasures they had were more than enough to pass this test. There was no point in searching for more. Lin Yi and the others didn't stay long before Qing floated over. Behind her was a group of disciples in white, and she spoke loudly, "Attention all participants, the test is over, please report to the mountain top." Little Qing's internal strength was strong. Although her voice didn't seem very loud, with the support of her internal strength, it could travel very far. Everyone on the mountain could probably hear it. Chapter 1522. Since Qing had said that the test was over, naturally Lin Yi wouldn't fight for it anymore, and so they all walked over. The participants on the mountain had been waiting for this moment as well. The treasures on the mountain were pretty much all taken and there wasn't much left to look for. "Looks like everyone's here." Little Qing nodded in satisfaction and said, "Next Little Li will call names. Those who are called can come forward and show their heavenly treasures and points card." The final moment had arrived, and the participants all had different expressions after hearing Qing's words. Those like Lin Yi, who had a lot of treasures, weren't worried at all. Those with few treasures, on the other hand, didn't even think about it. They definitely wouldn't make it to the top 10, so they didn't need to worry at all. The most nervous were those with treasures, but not a lot. They were all hoping that they'd be lucky enough to pass. Qin Jingdan. A participant's name was called and he came up to the owner of the inn, handing over his points card and treasures. After the innkeeper looked through it, he nodded and said, 355 points. Most of the trial takers who were called had scores of over 300 points. Only a few had scores of over 500 points. There were also a few who had scores of over 100 points. However, these people all had very gloomy expressions. They were already prepared to return home. Young Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi's name was called and she walked up with her bag and card, calmly handing it over to the owner. With Lin Yi's help, Chi-Chi's victory in the test was assured. There was no doubt about it at all. 1,500 points. After the innkeeper reported the number on the card, he couldn't help but be a little surprised. He knew very well how strong Chi-Chi was. She was a physical practitioner after all. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that she was at the bottom of the pack, and yet Chi-Chi's score was the highest so far. But the owner let out a sigh of relief when he saw the snow mushroom in Chi-Chi's bag. One snow mushroom was worth 1,000 points, and it seemed that Chi-Chi's luck was pretty good. Of course, the inn owner hadn't watched the entire process of the smelting trial. That was why he was surprised. As for the other trial challengers present, none of them were surprised. Chi-Chi and Lin Yi were on the same team. It was normal for her to have 2,000 points. Lin Yi had taken all of Zhang Naipeo's and Feng Nitian's treasures for himself. Qing had been standing beside the sect master and had seen the entire process. She couldn't take care of every detail, but she could see the big picture. She saw how Lin Yi beat Naipeo and Nitian, and knew that Chi-Chi was on the same team as Lin Yi. She wasn't surprised at Chi-Chi's points. After that, it was Yu Bing, Chikuan, Chijio and Lin Yi. Other than Lin Yi, everyone else had around 1,300 points. Only Lin Yi had 2,000 points. Lin Yi did this to get first place. Only then would he have more authority and it would be easier for him to talk to the Ice Palace. It didn't take long before all the scores were tallied. Lin Yi and the others took the top 5 without a doubt. Lin Yi was first, Chi-Chi was second, Yu Bing was third, and Chikuan and Chijio were fourth. The top 3 would receive special rewards from the Ice Palace. But Chikuan didn't dare think too much about it. He knew that he wasn't as close to Lin Yi as Chi-Chi and Yu Bing were, so he gave up his spot and went to the 4th place with Chijio. Those trial takers who were not ranked could not help but feel a little depressed. They all sighed, especially the trial takers who were 5 points away from the 10th place. They beat their chests and stamped their feet, secretly cursing their bad luck. Not bad. The trial takers in this phase are not weak. 5 of them have achieved impressive results. Qing nodded and glanced at Lin Yi and the others, her eyes lingering on Lin Yi's face for a while. The top 10 have been announced. Winners, please line up according to your ranking and tell me what reward you want. Li will help you register it. Qing's sharp gaze made Lin Yi feel like he was being seen through. The invisible pressure made it hard for him to breathe. The aura of a sky class was indeed different. But Lin Yi could feel that Qing's gaze was mostly curious and there was no malice in it. Yes. The first 10 contestants who won were very happy to find the innkeeper to register their names. Those who didn't pass, don't be discouraged. If anyone in the top 10 gives up on becoming an outer sect disciple of the Ice Palace and chooses the right to exchange for the treasures, then the empty spots can be pushed back. Qing said to those who didn't win. Suddenly, a glimmer of hope flashed in the eyes of some of the trial takers who did not win. Of course, these people were all ranked from rank 10 to rank 15. The trial challenger in rank 11 was the most excited. In his opinion, as long as a trial challenger chose the right to exchange for the treasures, then it would be his turn to take the top spot. Wandering cultivator Lin Yi, do you want to become an outer disciple of the Ice Palace, or do you want the treasure exchange right? The inn owner asked Lin Yi. Lin Yi's victory wasn't unexpected to the inn owner. Lin Yi's situation had made him very curious. He couldn't sense Lin Yi's strength, and Lin Yi's recovery speed had surprised him. Exchange right. Lin Yi said without hesitation. All right. The inn owner wasn't surprised. Someone like Lin Yi didn't need to train in the Ice Palace's outer sect. He had his own way of practicing after all. Most of the lone practitioners who came here would choose to exchange their rights. Hearing Lin Yi's words, the 11th place participant's face went red with happiness. He didn't think that the first person would give up on becoming an outer disciple. Didn't this mean that he'd definitely become a disciple? Freelancer Yang Qiqi, may I ask if you wish to become an outer disciple of the Ice Palace, or do you want the right to trade for treasures? The inn owner asked Qiqi the same thing he asked Lin Yi. Exchange right. Qiqi said without hesitation, just like Lin Yi. Chapter 1523. As for the 12th place trial taker, just like the 11th place trial taker before him, he was so excited that his face was flushed red. Yu Bing and Qijiu chose to stay in the Ice Palace, becoming outer disciples. Yu Bing was different from Lin Yi and different from Qikuan. Without Yu Shan's threat, he wasn't in a rush to go back. Plus, Yu Shan had just gotten injured, and even if it wasn't because of him, he had to be responsible for it. Yu Bing didn't believe that Yu Shan wouldn't tell on him, and his grandpa might punish him out of anger. However, things would be different if he stayed in the Ice Palace to train. Once he broke through to the Earth class and returned to the family, everything would be settled, and it would be a matter of time before he took over the position of the young master as an Earth class. The top 10 participants, other than Lin Yi, Qiqi and Qikuan, all chose to stay in the Ice Palace and become outer disciples. As far as they were concerned, it wasn't worth it to participate in the test just for the exchange rights. Take care. Lin Yi patted Yu Bing's shoulder, smiling. I can't interfere with your choice, but if you don't have any hope of breaking through here, you can come back to me. This was Lin Yi's promise to Yu Bing. Lin Yi wasn't someone who made promises easily, but once he did, he would always keep it. As long as Lin Yi broke through to Earth class, he would be able to mass-produce Earth class practitioners, and when Yu Bing came back to him, he would be able to help him increase his strength. You two, I'll try my best to help you with your conflict with House Yu, but for Ning I hope you can bear with it. Yu Bing nodded solemnly. All right. As long as House Yu doesn't cause trouble for me, I won't mess with them. Lin Yi said. I knew you'd say that. Yu Bing sighed. He wasn't sure whether or not House Yu would mess with Lin Yi. He wasn't the head of the house yet, and he couldn't control House Yu's affairs. Those who want to stay in the Ice Palace and become outer sect disciples, follow Little Li to handle the entry procedures for you. Those who want the right to exchange for the treasures, follow me. Little Qing said, the rewards for the top 3 in this trial will be chosen from the heavenly treasures obtained in this trial. Distribute them as soon as possible. At this point, Lin Yi had no choice but to say goodbye to Yu Bing. He didn't know when they would meet again, but the two nodded at each other. There was no need to say anything else. The tavern owner left with the remaining challengers, while Qing continued to speak to the remaining challengers who hadn't won. The trial is over, everyone can go back. But I have to remind everyone, don't cause trouble in my Ice Palace territory. Once you leave the town, do as you please. Yes. The challengers nodded their heads. How could they dare to disobey little Qing's words? Qing brought Lin Yi, Qiqi and Qikuan back to the Ice Palace, and the other challengers left as well. Do you want the exchange right now, or do you want to go back and discuss it first? Qing brought Lin Yi and the other two to a waiting room outside the Ice Palace. If you want to exchange right now, just tell me. When we go back, I'll give you a token from the Ice Palace. I'm not exchanging for now. I need to go back to my house first, Chikun said. Alright, take this. If you need it, you can use this token to come to the town and find the owner. Little Li, Qing handed a strange stone tablet to Chikun. Chikun quickly took it and put it away carefully. Why aren't you leaving? Qing couldn't help but frown when she saw that Chikun was still standing there after taking the token. Chikun paused, not expecting Qing to kick him out so soon. He didn't dare disobey though. I'll go now. Chikun had wanted to wait for Lin Yi to go back with him, but it seemed like that dream was gone now. Chikun didn't want to leave right away though. He wanted to wait for Lin Yi at the inn. I'll wait for you at the inn. With that, Chikun walked out of the waiting room. There were already disciples waiting outside, ready to send him down the mountain. Ling Yi, Chi-Chi, what about you guys? Qing asked after Chikun left. You go first. Lin Yi guessed that what he wanted was probably something precious in the Ice Palace. It'd be troublesome to bargain, so he let Chi-Chi go first. I need 1,000-year-old snow lotus. Chi-Chi said. I don't have anything to exchange, but I can buy it with money. 1,000-year-old snow lotus? Little Qing frowned slightly, but she still nodded and said, although it's a bit expensive, I really don't know if you have such a precious thing if you want to exchange it with heavenly treasures. However, you can use money to buy it. 5 billion if you accept it, I'll have someone take you there. 5 billion. Chi-Chi felt a bit dizzy. It wasn't a lot for 1,000-year-old snow lotus, but it was a lot for Chi-Chi. 5 billion was the amount of pocket money she'd had since she was young, plus the money she'd earned from missions these past few years. It wasn't even 1/10 of that amount. But Chi-Chi really needed it. Otherwise, her sister Lil Jio's life would be in danger. She gritted her teeth. Fine. I'll trade. Chi-Chi's family was self-sufficient in terms of education, and the family usually didn't give too much money to support them. They would only get an allowance every month until they turned 18. And so, if Chi-Chi wanted to trade 5 billion for the lotus, she'd have to borrow money from her family. That's right, borrow. She'd have to complete more missions in the future to pay back her family's debt. Take her to the transaction. Qing waved her hand and an Ice Palace disciple walked over, bringing Chi-Chi to trade for the lotus. The 1,000-year-old snow lotus wasn't a normal snow lotus, but an extremely rare one. Normal snow lotuses had a flowering period and they didn't bloom all year round. The 1,000-year-old snow lotus, on the other hand, bloomed all year round, and only grew in the snowy mountains of the extreme north. Chapter 1524. That was why Greenie agreed to Chi-Chi's trade. 5 billion was a huge sum for the Ice Palace. The Ice Palace didn't have any businesses in the secular world, and all of their income came from selling rare items and training. What do you need? Can you tell me now? Qing had a good impression of Lin Yi. As for Naipeo and Nidian, Qing didn't really like them, and now that a freelancer like Lin Yi had taught them a lesson, she felt quite satisfied. Fire Spirit's fruit. Lin Yi said. What? Qing's eyes froze as she stared at Lin Yi, a little shocked. How do you know about the Fire Spirit's fruit? Who told you about such a thing? Qing's reaction made Lin Yi startled. Could this fruit be some sort of treasure? But Lin Yi didn't want to hide it from Qing. He said honestly, I saw it in an ancient book, my friend. Needs the fruit to cure her illness. Ancient book. Qing looked at Lin Yi's eyes and nodded. As far as she could tell, Lin Yi wasn't lying. But the fruit was something that not even the ancient sects knew about because it was something that only the Ice Palace produced. It was extremely rare. So Lin Yi suddenly bringing up something that only the Ice Palace had shocked Qing. Qing didn't know where Lin Yi got the information from, so she was naturally cautious. Since you know about the Fire Spirit's fruit, then you should know its value. To us, the Ice Palace, the Fire Spirit's fruit is a priceless treasure. You want to trade it for the Fire Spirit's fruit. What do you want to trade for it? Qing could tell that Lin Yi wasn't someone with bad intentions. After hearing the words, Lin Yi couldn't help but smile bitterly. How would he know the value of the fruit? He wouldn't know why the fruit was a priceless treasure to the Ice Palace. I have a chi gathering pill. I wonder if I can use it as an exchange? Lin Yi originally thought that using the chi gathering pill to trade for the Fire Spirit's fruit wouldn't be a problem. After all, the chi gathering pill was a powerful tool for breaking through to heaven class. But now, after hearing Little Qing's words, he wasn't so sure. Qi gathering pill? Third grade pill? You actually have this thing? Little Qing was a little surprised after hearing Lin Yi's words. Then a hint of surprise flashed in her eyes. You know an alchemist above the third grade? I don't recognize it. Lin Yi shook his head. I found it in an ancient tomb. I see. Qing's joy disappeared in a flash and she returned to her cold expression. If you know a third grade alchemist, then I can discuss with the sect master and ask him to make a pill for us. Perhaps we can give a fire spirit's fruit as a reward. However, if you don't know him, then there's no need to discuss this matter. A fire spirit's fruit as a reward? Lin Yi was planning on getting 2 of them. But after hearing Little Qing's words, Lin Yi didn't dare bring it up again. Lin Yi really didn't know an alchemist. Although Lin Yi had been trying his best to learn alchemy, he hadn't made any progress. With his current alchemy skills, he definitely couldn't make a pill for the Ice Palace. If the Ice Palace saw this level of skill, they would probably kill him in a fit of anger. Qi gathering pill. Can't I? Lin Yi was a little confused. Little Qing didn't seem to care about the Qi gathering pill at all. She only asked about alchemists, but didn't seem interested in the Qi gathering pill at all. The Qi amassing pill might be a treasure in the eyes of the hidden families and ordinary sects, but in the eyes of the ancient families and sects, it's no different from a drug. Shao Qing said faintly. A drug. Lin Yi jumped. Since you're the winner of the competition, I'll talk to you a bit more. Little Qing nodded. It's a drug. Although the Qi gathering pill can allow an Earth class late phase peak to ascend to Sky class, it has its flaws. Flaws? Lin Yi quickly asked. Then why do the hidden families treat it as a treasure? Different worldviews, different results. Little Qing said faintly, the ultimate goal of the ancient sects and ancient families is to break through Sky class and step into the Sky's path. As for the hidden families, having a Sky class is already very impressive. As for breaking through Sky class, that's something they don't even dare to think about. Could it be that after taking the Qi gathering pill one can only stop at Sky class? Hearing Little Qing's words, Lin Yi had a rough idea of what was going on. If you have a lot of Qi gathering pills, then you can keep eating them until you reach Sky class late phase peak. If you're lucky, you can also break through Sky class. Little Qing said, but it's very difficult to make a Qi gathering pill. As far as I know, even a 4th level alchemist might not be able to make 1 out of 10 attempts, and it's also very demanding on the alchemist's attributes. That's why every Qi gathering pill is priceless. Then, does that mean that the Qi gathering pill doesn't have any flaws? Don't tell me, you're saying that after taking the Qi gathering pill I can't train on my own? Lin Yi suddenly thought of this point. Smart. Little Qing said, the energy contained within the Qi amassing pill is exceedingly pure. After consuming it, the body will absorb this pure energy, and the natural world's spiritual Qi will become insensitive to it, unless it's in a place where the spiritual Qi is especially abundant. At the very least, those who have taken the Qi gathering pill before have encountered obstacles in their natural training after breaking through to Sky class, and had to continue using all sorts of treasures to increase their strength. It's easy to go from frugality to extravagance, but it's hard to go from extravagance to frugality. Lin Yi understood what Little Qing was saying, so this was the reason why the Qi gathering pill was called Duo. But Zhang Liju's notes didn't mention this? And so Lin Yi didn't understand. I've read in ancient texts that this Qi gathering pill didn't have this many flaws back then, did it? Of course not back then. The aura of heaven and earth used to be abundant, but now it's getting thinner and thinner and training is getting harder and harder. Little Qing said, do you understand now? If you want to use the Qi gathering pill to trade for the fire spirit's fruit, then we won't agree. Other than that, do you have anything else you want? How do I get the fire spirit's fruit? I can use money to buy it. In front of Ice Palace, Lin Yi could only keep a low profile and humble. If Ice Palace didn't want to trade, then Lin Yi couldn't force them to trade with him. Chapter 1525. So you're saying there's no room for negotiation? Lin Yi smiled bitterly. No. Little Qing shook her head and said resolutely. My girlfriend. She needs the fruit to save her life. Lin Yi hesitated. If you can give me the fruit, I can promise you that in 2 years at the most, I'll find a refiner above the 3rd level to help you guys with the pill. Who are you? Why should I believe your promise? Qing frowned and smiled coldly. Who do you think you are? Do you think promises are that valuable? Lin Yi was speechless from Qing's words. Yeah, in front of the ice palace, Lin Yi was very small. Alright, seeing that you're quite loyal, I can promise you that in 2 years, if you can find a 3rd level refiner, I'll ask the sect master for a fruit for you. Qing waved her hand, stopping Lin Yi. 2 years. To be honest, Lin Yi didn't want to wait. Who knew what would happen in 2 years? Lin Yi could keep his promise since he was a man of his word, but would the ice palace still keep their promise after 2 years? Alright, you can go now. Xiaoqing waved her hand and said, the reward for the trial this time should be that snow lingji mushroom. Come and collect it tomorrow. The snow Ganoderma. I don't want it, I just hope that Elder Qing can bend the rules and give me the fruit first. Lin Yi didn't have much use for the snow Ganoderma, so Lin Yi gave it up. Qing frowned. I had a good impression of you, so don't say anything else. You want to obtain the fire spirit's fruit with just your words? Even if I agree, the palace lord will never agree. So, Elder Qing, you agree? For Xiao Xiao's sake, Lin Yi had to be thick-skinned and go with the flow. What did I agree to? Little Qing was stunned. You just said that even if you agree, the palace master won't agree? Lin Yi said, Elder Qing, you are a heaven stage expert, you will definitely keep your word, right? Since you've agreed, I'll have to trouble you to discuss this with the palace master. I'll definitely repay you in the future. You little baby. Little Qing didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Lin Yi's words. When did I say that I agreed? What I'm saying is even if... Elder Qing, please. Lin Yi said, as long as you are willing to give me a fire spirit's fruit, as long as I can do it, you can ask me to do anything. As soon as Lin Yi's voice fell, a cold voice rang out from behind Lin Yi. I'll let you die, okay? Although the voice was pleasing to the ear, it was too cold, causing people to shiver in fear. Lin Yi jumped in fright. Since when was there someone behind him? Lin Yi didn't even realize it. But judging from the voice, it had to be the sect master of the ice palace. Right, sure. Lin Yi said after a sigh. On one hand it was because of his feelings for Xiao Xiao, but on the other hand he was pissed off by the sect master. If Lin Yi said no, then the sect master would probably make him take Xiao Xiao and leave right away. So, no matter what, Lin Yi had to say yes. Aunt Qing, let's go. Let him die. The sect master said faintly. That. Qing didn't expect the sect master to appear here all of a sudden. To be honest, she liked Lin Yi a little, but of course, it was the kind of affection a senior would have for a junior. Qing was already in her 30s, and in her eyes, Lin Yi was no different from a child. She could feel how much Lin Yi loved Xiao Xiao, and so she didn't say too many harsh words to Lin Yi. As far as she was concerned, it wasn't easy for a freelancer to reach Lin Yi's strength today. He must have suffered a lot. She'd seen Nai Peo and Nidian, people who had some talent and achievements but weren't arrogant. She had a good impression of someone like Lin Yi who had talent but wasn't arrogant. But since the sect master had spoken, there was nothing she could do. Sect master, please give me a fire spirit's fruit. Lin Yi said, no matter what it is, I'll agree to it. My ice palace doesn't need you to do anything. The sect master said coldly as she looked at Lin Yi. Ice palace master, please agree to my request. If you don't, I won't leave. Lin Yi had no choice, he had no choice but to act shamelessly. There was nothing he could do to the ice palace. Then don't leave, wait for your death here, there's no food. With that, the sect master pulled Qing. Aunt Qing, let's go. The two disappeared in an instant, and Lin Yi could only smile bitterly in his heart. This sect master was too much of a character, wasn't she? Lin Yi really wanted to beat this girl up, but he couldn't. Please, we're closing the door. After the sect master and Qing left, two disciples walked over and gestured for Lin Yi to leave, signaling for Lin Yi to leave. These two, from what Lin Yi could tell, were at least Earth class. Even if Lin Yi tried to fight them head-on, he wouldn't be a match for them. And so, Lin Yi nodded and carried Skybolt Pig, carrying Xiao Xiao on his back as he left the reception room. The two disciples didn't bother with Lin Yi after Lin Yi left, locking the door and continuing to patrol the area, ignoring Lin Yi. The sect master had told Lin Yi to wait for his death here, and these disciples didn't know what she meant by that. She might have said it out of anger, but since the sect master had said that, It was up to Lin Yi to wait for his death, it had nothing to do with these disciples. As long as Lin Yi didn't force his way in, they'd pretend they didn't see him. Fu. Lin Yi raised his head, sighing as he looked at the walls and the ice palace doors. This was much harder than he'd imagined. The ancient sects weren't something he could touch right now. Old Lin was right, this level was simply too high. To Lin Yi it was a little too high for him to reach. The impression the ice palace gave Lin Yi was that it was powerful. Any random disciple was an earth class. Lin Yi didn't leave, he stood in front of the ice palace. Since he was going to act shamelessly, he'd act shamelessly to the end. Lin Yi wasn't leaving. Chapter 1526. Lin Yi's stubbornness. The ice palace was a righteous sect, and Lin Yi didn't piss them off, nor did he rob them. All he did was ask them to give him a fire spirit's fruit, so at most they wouldn't give it to him, but they wouldn't do anything to harm Lin Yi. Time flew and it was the next morning. A girl in green came out from the ice palace. It was Qing. After seeing Lin Yi, she handed a stone plate and a jade box to Lin Yi. This is your reward for winning, a snow Ganoderma, and this is the token of our ice palace. You can use it to exchange for treasures. I don't want it. Please help me, Elder Qing. Give me a fire spirit's fruit, and I'll find a third-level refiner for the ice palace. Lin Yi rejected the items. Why are you so stubborn, little kid? Don't think that I'm easy to talk to and you can't stop nagging me. I can't make decisions for the ice palace. Qing frowned. I'll leave it here, do you want it or not? With that, Qing put the jade box and stone plate on the ground in front of Lin Yi and floated back to the ice palace. Lin Yi took a deep breath and looked at the jade box and stone plate on the ground, not picking them up. Since he was already here, Lin Yi naturally wouldn't just leave. This was Xiao Xiao's last hope, and Lin Yi didn't want to give it up just like that. No matter what, he had to try. Lin Yi only hoped that his sincerity would move Aunt Qing and the sect master. Elder Qing didn't say if they wanted to kick Lin Yi out, she only asked if he wanted it or not, and Lin Yi didn't say if he wanted it or not. So with Lin Yi standing there, the Ice Palace disciples didn't dare make a rash decision to kick Lin Yi out. When these disciples were patrolling back and forth, they only glanced at Lin Yi's figure standing tall in the snow and silently walked over. Elder Qing's words were not to be disobeyed, and the disciples did not dare to act on their own. They had the right to chase away strangers who were not part of the Ice Palace, but they didn't know what kind of person Lin Yi was. Since Elder Qing didn't say anything, then let him continue standing there. Seeing these disciples ignore him, Lin Yi felt a little more at ease in his heart. What was certain was that Aunt Qing was a very kind person. Perhaps in her heart she wanted to help Lin Yi, but because the fruit was something very important to the Ice Palace, she couldn't just agree to Lin Yi's request. As for that unreasonable sect master girl, Lin Yi didn't have much of a bad impression of her. Her attitude was normal to Lin Yi. If the fruit really was something very important to the Ice Palace, then it would be strange if a stranger like him would give it to him so easily. It was just like when Fatty Lai asked for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. He didn't even know him, so why would he give it to him? But Fatty Lai was lucky he found half a pill in the dog poop in the trash. Now Lin Yi placed all his hopes on Aunt Qing. He hoped that she could put in a good word for him in front of the sect master. He hasn't left yet? The sect master asked, seeing Aunt Qing return. No, he's still standing in front of the Ice Palace. Qing sighed. Aunt Qing, I don't think it's easy for this kid. Why don't we just give him a fruit? He promised us that within 2 years he'll find a third-level refiner to make pills for us. You believe the words of a freelancer? The sect master smiled faintly. But this Ling Yi seems different. He was able to beat Zhang Naipeo and Feng Nidian. That's enough to say that he's special. Which sect's master isn't a freelancer? Qing said, and from his tone, it doesn't seem like he's lying. The Ice Heart Jade Bone Pill is too important to you. If you can really make it, you'll be able to change your constitution after ingesting it. Even if you can't feel the heritage of the Ice Mountain, it'll still help you break through to Sky Class. The Ice Heart Jade Bone Pill, even if it's a third-level pill, requires at least a 5th-level refiner to make it. Even if he finds a 3rd-level refiner, what use would it be? The sect master shook her head. Are there still refiners in the common world? Even in our ancient sects, alchemists are extremely rare. Moreover, the high-level alchemists are all concentrated in the Sky Elixir School. Do you think he has the ability to convince the Sky Elixir School to send a 5th-level alchemist to refine pills for us? A look of disgust flashed across the sect master's eyes when she mentioned the Sky Elixir sect. Qing didn't know what to say. She was right, all the high-level refiners were gathered at the Sky Elixir sect, and the only refiner in the Ice Palace was only a 2nd-level golden class refiner. And this was already very amazing. In the other ancient sects, there were still first-grade alchemists, and some didn't even have alchemists, only ordinary alchemists. Is there still no reply from the Sky Elixir sect? 10 billion, is that not enough to get them to concoct pills for us? Speaking of concocting pills, the sect leader thought back to how she had asked Aunt Qing to negotiate with the Sky Elixir sect. The young master of the Sky Elixir sect said that unless you marry him as a concubine, the Ice Palace and the Sky Elixir sect will be in-laws, and you'll be able to make any pill you want. Even if it's a 4th-level pill, you can ask his grandfather to make it for you. But other than that, the Sky Elixir sect doesn't lack money. Qing sighed. Shameless. The sect master humphed. Wishful thinking, someone who only knows how to make pills and has no strength. I can kill him with one finger. The sect master rarely got angry, but after hearing the young master's reply, she was infuriated. No strength. Qing couldn't help but smile bitterly, but they are the strongest sect in the ancient sects. Although the core members of the Sky Elixir sect all practice alchemy-related arts, and even if they are Sky class they don't have much fighting strength, but there are too many Sky class masters who are willing to risk their lives for the Sky Elixir sect. Little Qing was right. In the Heavenly Elixir sect, the sect master, the young sect master, the elders, and even the ancestor of the Heavenly Elixir sect all cultivated auxiliary mental cultivation methods. This was also the reason why they had such achievements on the path of alchemy. Chapter 1527. Qing's plea. This generation's young headmaster had even said that he would take all the beauties from the ancient sects and ancient houses into his harem. Although from this, it could be seen that the young headmaster was extremely lustful, but from another angle, it could be seen how ambitious the Sky Elixir School was. He had arranged marriages with all the big sects, turning them all into in-laws to strengthen the Sky Elixir School. It was as if those who obeyed him would prosper and those who didn't would perish. Some of the smaller sects that didn't listen to him would be destroyed if they didn't agree to the marriage. As for the ancient sects, they wouldn't dare do anything now, but once their power reached a certain level, they wouldn't be able to hold themselves back from attacking the disobedient ancient sects. The Sky Elixir School's actions showed that they wanted to be the #1 school in Wulin, but while everyone could see it, they couldn't stop it. They had so many supporters. The masters and sects that had taken benefits from the Sky Elixir School would probably be the first to become their fighters, for the sake of better pills. The young master of the Heavenly Elixir sect had just reached adulthood, but he already had a large number of wives and concubines. He had already sent letters of engagement to many sects and families, wanting to marry the young women of these families, especially those with talent and strength. If he really got his way, then the next generation of the Sky Elixir School, apart from the children that had the talent to become high-level alchemists, would all be on the path of cultivation. The future of the Sky Elixir School would be unimaginably strong. Therefore, anyone with a discerning eye could see that the Heavenly Elixir sect was planning something big, and the so-called young master of the Heavenly Elixir sect was just an excuse to cover it up. I hope that after the Sky class meeting, there will be a few more people who step into the Sky Dao. That way we'll be able to keep the Sky Elixir School in check. If we let them grow. The sect master didn't continue, but the meaning behind her words was clear. So, I feel like we can give it a shot. That Ling Yi said he was so confident that he could find a third realm alchemist. It would be a great fortune for our ice palace. If we can rope him in, our power will increase as well. Qing said, Sect master, what do you think? Confident? What kind of *T is confidence? Unless he can produce concrete evidence to prove that he can find a pill master. Otherwise, why should we believe him? The sect leader shook her head. The fruit is just as important to our sect. Although we have 2 fruits this season, we still have to go into seclusion for the Sky class meeting. I'm afraid that when the time comes... AI. Little Qing sighed and didn't say anything more. Ling Shan subconsciously felt that this reason didn't make sense because it was too ridiculous. I'm not sure about that, this is just a preliminary analysis. It's just a hypothesis. Wang Hecken said, the second possibility is that this person is a psychopath, and there's something wrong with his heart. Just like what you said, Captain Song, if this person is after money, why would he provoke us? I think there's something wrong with his heart and this is a psychopathic suspect. A psychopath? Ling Shan nodded. That makes sense. This guy's targets are random, not the kind that's been stalking for a long time. He's just randomly picking a random person on the street, and that makes it harder for us to solve this case. Chapter 1528. Chapter 1527, Jiang Wen's plan. Ling Shan didn't know what to say. Most of the police force was gathered near the banks and the commercial areas. Who would have extra police force to patrol the streets? Plus, even if they did, they would only be concentrated near the main roads. Songshan was a big city and there were even suburbs nearby. How could they patrol all of them? It wasn't that Ling Shan didn't send people to patrol the area when the kidney trafficking organization was involved, but it didn't have much effect. You didn't know when and where the suspect would commit the crime. Wang Hecken was a person with the ability to solve cases, but he was a bit of an amateur when it came to police work. Of course, but Songshan has a lot of districts and we don't have enough people at all. The suspect's crime locations are completely random. One day he'll be here, the next he'll be there, and the day after that he might be back or resting. There's no pattern at all. Ling Shan smiled bitterly. Right now, the most important thing is to lock onto the suspect's identity and compare his height and appearance with the database. It has been compared many times. In the database, people who have criminal records and are similar to this suspect have been investigated and can basically be eliminated. As for those without criminal records, there are too many people of this height and build. Because the suspect is masked, it is temporarily impossible to determine the characteristics of the appearance. Although the suspect has committed crimes while wearing stockings, such opportunities are relatively rare. The victim was very shocked at the time and did not remember the outline of the suspect's foreign trade. Other times the suspect's face is covered with a thick mask, and people can't see his face clearly. Wang Li explained, "That's not my job scope. My job is to speculate on the criminal suspect's mind and find clues. In this kind of random crime situation, it's not the time for detectives to find clues," Wang Hecken said. "Captain Song, we've received a report that the suspect has committed a crime in Jiawuzi town." The office door was pushed open, and one of Ling Shan's subordinates came in to report to Ling Shan. Ling Shan had ordered them to report immediately if there was anything related to this case. It didn't matter if she was in a meeting or resting, they were to be notified immediately. What? Another crime? He ran all the way to Jejia town? Ling Shan paused. Jiajizi town was a small town under one of Songshan's subordinate counties. It was 200 kilometers away from Songshan's city center. This criminal was really ruthless. He actually went to such a far place to commit the crime. Wouldn't it take 2 hours to get there by car? Yes, I just received a report from the police of Jiawuzi town, so I came to report to Captain Song, the man replied. Can you confirm that it's the same suspect? Ling Shan asked. I'm sure you'll notice it. Not bad at all. Jiang Wen nodded, satisfied. Let's maintain this progress and expose this plate more. After that, we'll execute the next plan. Make 01 tear off his mask and reveal his face for an instant. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.